Um, I felt really disconnected from like the literature I would read in university about economics, but then the more I learned about Bitcoin, the more the connections that I made. So there's a lot there. But yeah, we're gonna be starting this Orange Pill live chat podcast here in a few minutes. We're just getting started here.
Hello, hello.
Hey. Uh,
What's up?
yo, bro. Good morning.
Good morning. Sorry about that. That 5 to 10 turned into 23 minutes, but
I don't even care. It was chill. I had this. I think this is sick because I can just. Okay, the music's annoying. Oh my god! There's a dog attacking me.
hey man, I was here first, boy.
You don't fucking want to learn about
Sorry,
crypto.
1 second. I'm gonna mute this.
Tell that dog that you're working, dude.
Yeah, he was just letting me know not to come close to his owner. All right.
Yeah, that was just easy because like letting the live start up with that little tag that's like starting in 10 minutes or whatever,
Oh,
you
nice.
know. And then I just let it run, and then we got a whole one person in here. But actually, we already Herbivorous already came in while it was chilling and gave us 1.7K likes. Such a legend.
What? How do you do that?
You can just like spam tap the screen and like the live. So some of these lives get up to like 1 million likes.
Holy crap, that's cool.
Like you
I've
can do
seen
it right
stuff like
now.
that.
Look, I can do
Like
it
you
right now.
gift people stuff. Like, yeah, that's cool. Well, thank you, Herbivorous.
No,
That's pretty cool. Even though I thought he was
touch
giving me
this,
shit the other day.
touch the screen 2,000 times.
Did you go over any of that BGB stuff?
Yeah, I read it all.
Because I honestly was just firing it to you. I hadn't read that yet. I was just like, so I just remember it's something in the analyzer about, you're in a good position to pick some up. And then I saw it could lower fees. And I'm like, well, I'll just buy some and see what happens. I don't even know if I have enough to lower fees, but because it converts all the small stuff into that, like that, right? Like when you have like a penny left when you trade something.
I think only if you have it like automated.
Okay.
Like, you can automate that all your dust goes into BGB, but I don't think mine does because like if I scroll down, I'll have micro amounts and different shit. I probably should automate that, or maybe it does just do it automatically now. I don't know.
Well, actually, I remember it's asked me a couple times. Do you want me to convert your? Because it can
Exactly.
just
There you go.
yeah. So I don't know how to do that manually yet, or whatever. But whatever, we'll figure it out.
What
What's
I'm confused by is that I'm probably wrong here, but it definitely seems as though the limit order fees on futures contracts, and I'm eating my breakfast here, so pardon my chewing. But
what's your
change it.
cereal of choice?
I made some hash browns and a couple
Oh,
eggs, breakfast burrito with some corn, tomatoes, and lettuce. Hell
why
yeah.
did I assume cereal? I know you're not. Fuck, I know you're healthy.
Well, no cereal. I'll fuck some cereal up. Lyris, chill. Lyris. I
It's
went for a
my,
really
but I like it
good
as like a
Wonka
dessert.
fly. What's that?
I'll eat cereal more as a like a fucking snack, like a dessert after dinner. No,
Yeah,
I don't eat
totally.
it.
I will too. Mhm.
Okay, so anyway, sorry, I cut you off there. You
No,
were,
just about the fees. It just seems
yeah,
like the fees change on futures, like on a futures
yeah,
contract.
right. It
What?
says it's the same or whatever, but like the same percentage, but it seems like
It
it's
must
not.
just be the leverage. It must just be a percentage of the overall contract size. So the
Well,
more leverage you use,
it's definitely affected by that. I remember. I think I said something about that yesterday, but
yeah, you did.
and then it's still like I'm not gonna calculate all the percentages and whatever, right? But I mean, it's kind
It's
of like this reminds me of how poker players always complain about the rake. Oh, you can't beat the rake at 1-3. You got to play 2-5, which is way better because the rake is the same at 1-3 and 2-5. Like it's 10%, up to a certain amount maximum. So like I think it'll be like up to $10, right? So if it's a $200 pot, you're not getting 20 taken out. But if it's a $100 pot, you get, if it's $7 pot, it's seven plus any promotions they might have. But obviously, if that's the exact same for 1.3 and 2.5, the pots are bigger in 2.5, so it's a smaller percentage of your pot, right? But like ultimately, if you just beat the game, you don't really need to obsess about rake.
$7. It's right? It's $7. This is what you're
Well,
saying, right?
it's 10%.
I get. Oh, but
Yeah.
you're saying on the 1 to 3. No, but you said it's consistent across the 1 to 3 and 2 to 5.
Yeah, it's the same formula.
Oh! I thought it was the same
10%.
$7 across it.
No, it's so if the
Yeah,
pot is $50, they would take five.
yeah,
And I
yeah,
won't include promotions because they'll have different promotions, like $1 for the bad beat, $1 for local promo. That's separate than the actual rate calculation. So excluding that, which is usually $1 or $2 on top of whatever the rake is. Um, so like, it's harder to get $50 in a 1-3 game in a pot than it is a 2-5 game because
yeah,
the blinds are already $7 instead of four. You're raising to like 10 or 12, in a 1-3 game. I mean, people will raise more, but like obviously the pot size is going to be bigger in a 2-5 game, so it's going to be a smaller percentage like of the overall pot.
In
Just
terms of the incentives of trading, it's interesting though because it's making you be patient. Like I know I have contracts that I've opened and closed and then just paid those fees. And that
I've
wasn't
done that
right. That
where
was
you
just
just
out
get
of
out right away and you
impatience.
pay like
Yeah.
50 cents in fees.
Yeah, stupid. Just
Yeah,
stupidity. And you can
yeah,
easily rack it up, especially with leverage. So it makes you choose your spots and when you press the buttons a little more carefully. It's a proper use of a fee, really. It's like you
yeah.
shouldn't be stupid. Yeah.
It's like how taxes are supposed to incentivize us to behave a certain way, or whatever. Yeah, yeah. It's good though because at least it's win-win where it has that benefit for us, and they don't just collect money. And then on the back end, you can, I guess, trade the coin too. So
I'd be very interested to see how, and now we're like lost in the weeds a bit in terms of the fees, because like you said, I'm not really that worried about it. It's like a rake in poker, but I would be interested in like a delta neutral position, how that funding rate would work in terms of covering your losses and fees on one side, right? Because the other side should be a maker on the market and you should be collecting the fee. So on a delta
yeah,
neutral position, I would be interested, but at the end of the day, I agree with you. Like as long as the other lesson is the leverage. The more leverage you use, the higher you're going to have higher margin you're going to have to make to really
yeah,
make up for that fee. Yeah. So there is a bit of that.
yeah. And I mean, and then of course it tightens your range anyway. So that's the biggest thing that I look at with leverage is making sure it doesn't give me too tight of a liquidation range, especially if I'm not setting my stop losses and stuff. Um,
Yeah, that combined with your fee, you're right. The
because that
range starts getting narrower.
Yeah, because I had leverage at like 35 for that $40 whatever position, and I want and it was like my first thing was like 114 something, so I brought it down so my liquidation was 112 because I was that enabled me to hold on to that long for a couple of days or whatever it was, day and a half or whatever. So yeah, it's important to pay attention to those things. So that was a smoking trade.
Mm. Dude, you've been killing it. Um,
I'm up
I would,
fucking 52%. It's unheard of.
I know,
You know?
like, I know, I know, and like the element of like, I don't want to say it's easy, but like, it does feel pretty fucking easy, hey.
It does. It does.
I
And I mean,
know.
I find that I think what a lot of people are like that guy that I sent you the video of, you know,
Which one?
the video of the guy trading and he was talking really fast,
Yeah, yeah,
shit,
yeah.
whatever. Like I have no interest in trading those. I really don't have an interest of like that to me seems like you're increasing the level of difficulty and the speed at which you have to, do all of these things, and all the different indicators and the things they're I just feel like they're making something so complicated, which, more power to them, but it seems to me like you're increasing the failure rate.
It's
um
unnecessary.
yeah, like I feel like it's just this human condition where we want to just make things so complicated when you don't need to. And what I like, I've been looking at other coins and charts and stuff, and I realize the percentages are I guess similar, but like, because Bitcoin's price is so high, I feel like it's it's an easier range to just sort of sit in and collect good money. Like some of these, I know like the percentage is the same on like Doge, but like when the coin's going from 291 to 294, and that's like a big percentage change, it's like, what? Like, that's how are you going to trade in that, like scalping quickly? Like, it's just more difficult.
Lower market caps. Yeah, it's the lower market cap.
There you go.
You know,
See,
you
this is
can
why we make a good team. I bring the dumb version, and then you articulate it into a correct way.
don't put yourself down so much, bro. Like, you contribute to this shit just as much as me. 100%. At this point, you're
I
actually
know. I just
surpassing me.
admire your vocabulary. That's all.
But like we said yesterday about the James Lindsay point about complexity and the intentional use of that in Marxist ideology, I found that really interesting.
Sorry. Say that one more time. I was just reading that atheism, a logical join. Hello, atheism.
Oh, um, the James Lindsay thing about how Marxist ideology will over complexify using vernacular and vocabulary, and that's
Yes.
like an intentional thing for
Yeah.
confusion. Yeah,
Yeah. Which is like so intellectually dishonest. I don't like it.
of course,
Like, you're not even trying to like argue your side. That's like, what are you doing?
of course. That's one of the coolest parts about this trading thing too, is it really harnesses in what logic looks like, because if we're trying to build a strategy in such a random environment, our bias is going to be our downfall. Like, our bias is either going to make us or break us in this environment. So I found it so fulfilling to find a space where, like, logic, the practical use of logic, is actually monetarily, uh, like, gainful. Like, you can actually gain. But this space is the one space, like one of the one spaces left, that pure rationality gets you ahead.
Yeah. Well, I found like my bias cost me that last night, because at 117, I was like, okay, well, it just sort of topped out. At the time I got out. I mean, even now, I think within 300 of its top range. Like, I think 117.4. I got out around 117 something, and I wanted to just immediately do a short, but then I was like, it just, I don't know. I was like, well, it's got to just come down, and then I just got in my own way, and I was like, well, what if it just keeps, like, I wasn't like, there's certain positions where I'm way less confident as to what it's gonna do.
I know, and that's so random. Or, like, I don't know what to call it. Like,
Right, because I don't know
bias. Yeah.
why, like, it could still do anything at any time. So like, but I mean, I like the
Super
indicators that we
interesting.
have. What was that other indicator you were going to introduce me to?
I'm so excited you're asking for that, because I was gonna bring it up. But unfortunately, I noticed that without a good TradingView desktop, like without the desktop version of TradingView, you can't seem to load the indicator on the mobile one.
Mm,
It's just super annoying, and you definitely can't find it on, like, BitGet. You need to be on TradingView,
mm,
but nonetheless, you could, like, either using AI or Google, still find images and documents about it. But it's really cool because it links the miner difficulty, the hash rate, which you don't need to know those terms, but you did read the white paper, so you might recognize those terms a little bit. Bitcoin In the Bitcoin protocol, there's something called the network difficulty, which is adjusted, and that is tracked on this indicator to basically correlate with the cost of Bitcoin mining. So you're basically tracking how profitable the miners are in comparison to how much it costs for them to mine. And
Okay.
there's capitulation zones and then obvious momentum like buy signals. Like this particular one has a strategy associated with it. So the buy and capitulation signals are right on the price. Yeah,
Okay.
and Crown backtest this tons. He uses it. It's only relevant on the daily chart, and it can take tons of time to actually pop a signal off. But when
Right.
it does pop a signal off, it's like 80% uh, um, win rate,
Well,
and
there you go. So that's good.
and
So yeah,
massive gains because it's on the daily chart.
right.
So I've always been waiting. It only pop off like once or twice a year. But I've
Okay.
been waiting to set up a position on that indicator and trying to, and the other thing that it backtests, which this is so useful for the leverage and shit, is that 80% win rate is relevant to the last previous low, as in the price. That 80% win rate is dictated on the price never coming back below ever again in history the previous low before the signal went off.
Okay. Interesting.
So
Well,
like yeah, like generational signals basically.
hmm well, those are exciting because those can be some of the biggest, like you say, the biggest wins, right? Those that 4% outside of standard deviation, maybe you can catch that way.
Mm-hmm. Or at least being a in a spot where you're highly confident, so maybe leveraging in a lot of margin, you're not going to feel as like afraid of it, and then be on a daily time frame. Like you really wouldn't have to try to catch the four um, um, standard deviation because if you just set it up right, think about it. If you just set it up right, bro, you wouldn't even need that volatility. Like you could change your life off just the guarantee of a small move, basically. Like if you had all the signals in place to basically know that you're at least going to get on the daily chart a good jump in volatility, like you wouldn't even need to wait out the next 50 days of price action, although that obviously would be ideal. Like you could literally just, if you set it up right, take it in the first 1 or 2 days, if as long as you
Mm,
hit your targets.
right.
It's the confidence, like you said, like depending on how much confidence you had, like because and that's what I meant about some traders only trading, like the big whales only trading a couple times a year. It's because they
hmm
have like such solid positions and so much money on the line and even the fees and everything that until a really solid signal through all the noise adjusts their confidence on a really like, like granular level, they won't make a move.
I'm still getting over something here, so I'm hacking a little bit. So,
Oh, don't be, bro.
um,
But yeah, all interesting.
that is interesting, and I still haven't. I got to grapple with that still, but you know, I'll just leave it to you. And if you don't catch it, then cost is your life. So yeah, well, you can just keep an eye on that, and then you just send me over the details when it's necessary.
Hmm. I will. I mean, see if I can load it on my screen right now on my laptop and then just but
Yeah,
my
'cause you
fucking
can just
camera doesn't
basically
work.
walk me through it if you want, and it'll be a good little lesson for her.
The problem is my back camera doesn't seem to work when I'm on live. So I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this.
Oh, weird. Oh,
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Like
I
I
think
should be able to turn it on, but just for some reason on my computer it doesn't work.
we should put something up that. I mean, I guess people just come in and listen. Will they just generally, I mean, in your experience, ask questions if they have them as they go, or what?
In my
Do
experience,
they need encouragement?
anything related to crypto is not even going to be of conversation. And until I put something about God or gender and argue with
Uh,
people, you're not even going to get people up here. So It's weird. It's like this is basically for me a space to talk about what I want to talk about. And if people come up and they're interested, they're invited. Anyone's invited onto the panel, but we are fishing in like rare waters right now. You
We're
know?
fishing in a dry pond.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That's fine because hopefully, I mean, hopefully we can, over time at least, I don't know, alleviate the fears of some people, like
Yeah.
educate them
Yeah.
a little bit, and then hopefully that'll change over time because
Exactly.
this is literally like fucking finding a new way to make money. Um, I mean, it's so liberating. You don't even, I mean, I certainly can't articulate it as well as I feel, like strongly as I feel about it. It's, it's so amazing, And I mean, just the
Mhm.
fact that like, you can keep it all, never mind the capital gains tax and crap that I was telling you about. Like the calculation that I said, if I had $1,000 and turned it into 100 grand, so that's like a 99, it's a massive gain, right? So the formula on that capital gain. So if I was to take that out of that $100,000 and I went to a baseball game and I spent $70, so with that gain from 1,000 to 100,000, that capital gain, if I spend that on my crypto card, $70 at a baseball game, under that scenario, I would have to set aside $35 for capital gains tax.
Okay. Not quite in my head. Um, how I would think about it is like this. Let's say you made a trade and you got $100,000, right? When you're thinking of that, are you thinking in terms of you've once you make the $100,000 gain, you instantly put it into Canadian dollars? Are you thinking
No.
that? Okay, so yeah, if you were just holding USDT like Tether or Bitcoin or whatever, and you just made those gains and you cashed out $70 onto your crypto card, the only capital gains you have to worry about is on $70.
Right. So maybe in that scenario, maybe I didn't read it properly. Maybe it was assuming I'd.
Well, you're not misreading it as well because there are supposed to be like let's this goes back to the whale situation. If I did have millions of dollars and every time I moved it, I would have to account not only for the fees but capital gains in terms of but like this is where it gets really complicated in terms of what, right? So like
Yeah, because they did say you had to do this cost evaluation, which is super
exactly.
complicated at the time.
Exactly.
Like, good luck. Even with, I mean, I guess the CRA is going to use AI at some point. You think just to do their jobs, but they probably won't because that our I think we're like 4 times the amount of CRA agents as there are IRS agents, and they have 10 times the population.
Like pop to pop wait, in raw numbers or like relative
Remember,
to population? No
raw numbers.
fucking way, dude.
We
No
have four
fucking
times the
way,
amount of
dude.
CRA agents as the United States has IRS agents,
My fucking god, dude.
and they have 10 times the population. So they do that fucking math. It's like,
But yeah, like I'd be if I ever got audited, I'd be so interested to pick their brain on where they're at with it. Like I'd love to watch them struggle. And that's the whole thing is they're all struggling through accounting for this to begin with. That's why they don't even know what to do with it.
yeah, I just think it sucks that if you're gonna say that because I mean it's a currency clearly, and clearly it's also an asset, but like if you're gonna say it's just an asset, that's why we can apply capital gains. Like, first of all, capital gains is such horseshit. I don't care that you can write off your losses. Like, fuck off. You're stealing my labor. But
Of
it's
course.
just
No, of
it's,
course.
it's just the fact that they're like, oh, okay, well, what's the best for us? Like, it's just another example of where government doesn't. They're not acting in the best interest of the citizen. Like, how can we make this most beneficial to our citizen? Oh, I don't know. Let's tax the
Okay.
shit out of it.
Okay. I gotta say this. I do think there's an argument to be made. Okay, I'm in no way in defense of Keynesian or Marxist like central planning ideology, especially when it comes to the market and financial manipulation. But in terms of differing, whether we call them assets or currencies, I do think there is utility in having whatever, if you want to call it a stable coin or like a, basically something that is not necessarily tied to an asset or backed by anything other than the people's trust, because the way the fiat system works is actually pretty fascinating in terms of small business growth. Like when we look at the global dynamics, right, of currency and how and like hyperinflation in certain parts of the world, that's a very different discussion than like a small a different like the dynamic forces of different small communities needing right growth input for small businesses. Certain places have more investors than others, certain places have higher risk, right? So you want to give those communities the freedom basically to like lend and control the way they're going to, if you want to say, stimulate their economy. It's not from a central planning point of view, it's more from
Right.
like a banking and lending point of view, that you
Okay.
do want, right, you do want to have some, like for instance, I do like, I do like your point about capital gains though, or like even just the fact that if I was gonna claim a loss, that really justifiable? Like, should I be able to claim a loss? So I no, I don't think you necessarily. That's going pretty far, but in terms of even just lending money, I struggle. I struggle to know whether we should maybe not have fractional reserves, but the idea of like lending money shouldn't necessarily be illegal. And then interest rates, like it seems like charging interest for a loan seems like a reasonable ask, right?
I think 100%. Totally agree with you. I just think that
Right.
the fraudulent reserves that people say are fractional, um, I think that's horseshit because they've got enough
I
money.
agree.
They make a ton of money, right? So they've got their profit. So just work off your profit, and then that incentivizes the bank to make profit, right? Instead of just, again, it's this, it's the same thing as government money versus private money, right? Front end versus back end, right? So like
Yeah.
if the bank has to actually earn what it can lend, then it's incentivized to do that. And if it's, hopefully not going to do that just through fees and whatever, like it is, ATM fees and monthly fees and all these other transaction fees and blah, blah, blah. But like, I think it's just, it's ridiculous that you can just, okay, I got $100,000. So now we can loan out. I think it's 10 times, 10 to 1, I think in Canada.
Yeah, for every dollar you deposit, which makes no sense at all. So for every
Right.
time I bring money into the system, they just get 10x that. It just generates out of
Out
thin
of
air.
nothing.
What
Yeah.
the
Like
fuck?
that's a cool fucking trick. Like, so
But it begs the question of like who really benefits from that. So like I don't know if there's a way to uh,
well, certainly people that get the money in loans benefit, right? On a successful loan.
oh yeah, the
So,
interest, collecting the interest rate. But I mean holding the dollars. No one benefits from holding the dollars. So it goes back to this idea of
no, but the
convenience.
businesses that are getting loans, there would be less
Yes,
loans,
yes,
obviously,
yes,
right?
yes,
Available if they did it the way I'm saying to do it.
yes.
So that
And the loans would be insolvent less often, and et
none
cetera, et
of this would
cetera.
be an issue if the economy wasn't run so poorly.
But but but,
Like,
but wait, there's an important part here that I'm trying to say, which is that like
okay,
imagine the market of money, in the sense that just like a chocolate bar, like we talk about the price of a chocolate bar, the immediacy
nickel,
that what's that?
a nickel. When I was a kid, a Mars bar was a nickel.
Oh my God! Imagine now it's like it's literally you could pay, I don't even know, $20 for a fucking chocolate
Sorry,
bar.
I keep throwing you off. Finish your point.
No, you're good. You're good. Just that that price is going to be paid if there isn't an equilibrium price of a chocolate bar, right? Because someone who's impatient and wants the convenience of a rainy 3 a.m. chocolate bar delivery is going to pay more than someone who goes to the store and stocks up wholesale in chocolate bars, right? And
Yep.
you could think about it the same way with money. Someone who needs their money all the time, is scraping by week to pay their bills, doesn't have any assets, doesn't have any savings, doesn't have anywhere to put their money in other things, they're they're hinged to immediacy. It's like a person going to fast food all the time or always going to 7-Eleven and then claiming they're broke. It's like, bro, you get those chips every night and you go to No Frills and get them for half the price. You claim you're broke. Why do you
Yeah.
go spend $8 on the same old Dutch bag of fucking chips? I go to No Frills and pay $1.60. Like, what is wrong with you? Every
Yeah.
night you go up there at 3 a.m., get the chips beforehand, learn your fucking lesson. So it's the same kind of with money that I find interesting. It's like, even if we had sound money and we had a really good system like Bitcoin, you could see that there's going to be a plethora of market options in terms of money, some of it being absolute scams, some money not even right, fool's gold, all the way down to fool's gold. So you got to give fiat its kind of credit. It's like it's not all the way down at fool's gold or a complete lie. It's somewhere between a socialized system of trust that's regulated and something that's like, you know, like actual sound money, like Bitcoin. So,
Yeah.
and for people who, it's interesting because like there might be something to be said about, I don't know, you could imagine the necessity for that kind of immediacy in certain cases. Like for right, maybe the utility of a stable coin might be our the you. I mean, imagine trying to navigate the crypto market without a stable coin. It would become a lot harder.
It
Well,
would.
we would just create. This is where it gets tricky, though. We would just create our own using a delta neutral strategy. Why couldn't we just create our own, right? Using a delta neutral strategy. That is a stable coin, is it not?
Hmm. Give me an example.
Like if let's say Tether did not exist, and so
Yeah.
now when we go to BitGet, as soon as you get that XRP, you're in the wild wild west because you have nowhere to go where you feel like, oh, tonight I can sleep and not worry about volatility at all.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
And so the only way that we would have to do that if Tether did not exist would be to create ourselves a delta neutral strategy that actually exited perfectly on loss to exit with profit and loss. So if you had a stop loss in place, that you would know that the profiting contract would also exit at that exact same spot so that you would not actually lose anything other than the fees, I suppose.
Right.
And
Right.
and
Right.
that's as close as you're going to get to an actual stable coin. So you can see why there's utility here to the stablecoin issue. It's almost like you need both. You need a balance in the market because like that immediacy, that liquidity is sometimes you'll sacrifice some security and some accuracy for that immediacy, right? And that convenience.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I was just my first thought was, well, Bitcoin is my stable coin, but if you're in a position where I need money now and it's taking a dip, well, there's your scenario right there where it's you can't wait. You know.
There's also this other point, which is that Bitcoin was never designed to be like a Visa, like a credit system. Like the reason we have thousands of millions of transactions per minute, right, is because of the immediacy through which people spend their money. Like every second, there's thousands of transactions going on the Visa credit card network. Bitcoin was not designed for that threshold. Bitcoin has a very slow and secure network. It's like moving a massive train rather than several little mopeds on the street. So
It's
if you
good.
wanted to go buy your coffee in the morning with Bitcoin, you'd be dumb. See, it's not, the network is not built. You'd have to utilize another network like XRP or these other secondary layer systems that utilize some liquidity in order to open up a bit of the security and anonymity for like fast purchases. So the crypto space, bro, when you look at all these altcoins and then you look at it all the way up to Bitcoin, what this is a massive experiment in banking, finance, and government. Every coin represents its own policy, its own protocol to governance, to money supply, to inflation, to all these things, and then the market votes on the I don't know, the integrity of those systems with the
Yep.
money. So the
Yeah.
market cap is literally showing some people like Ethereum, which is a stakeholder type system, very Marxist. If you look into Marxist ideology, the stakeholder system is an ancient like part of the whole ideology. So, but nonetheless, like people put tons of money into it, and I bought Ethereum and sold Ethereum. So, and then
Yeah.
Dogecoin is a lot like a fiat currency. Like the supply is being burnt and created and inflated millions and millions at a time. Very different than Bitcoin. So
Hmm.
you could literally like put all of these different coins and all the fiat currencies and all the commodities on a massive like chart and chart them on their integrity, their security, their anonymity. There's so many ways to like assess, you
Hmm.
know. And if you're and then it all comes down to like if you're a mechanic, you a car is a lot more valuable asset to you than a person who's retarded and doesn't and maybe I can't say that word who doesn't know what
I know I can't.
that came out. I shouldn't have just let that slide out on TikTok. But yeah, you get it.
Well, when I used it, it was actually an insult to that group of people by calling that person that. But
Well, this one was an insult to myself because I don't know shit about cars. So
yeah, I'm raised by my mother, so yeah, needed to join those woodworking classes in high school. You know, get a little man DNA waking up there. Um,
so yeah, I still have, I'm not a complete skeptic of I see the impact of education and how politically our institutions have been like hijacked so that these things aren't taught. But in terms of like allowing some room for fiat currency in my life or whatever, I mean, I gotta be realistic. I use it every day. It's what I have to be taxed in, et cetera, et cetera. You know, and so through education, I've alleviated a lot of the stress. Honestly, like you said, once you free yourself from a lot of the propaganda or like you educate yourself on these things, you do actually alleviate a lot of the pressure that comes from inflation because you it's an education problem. It's like, oh, I can escape this. I don't have to have dollars. I can even if
yep.
with my minimal job and my high bills and everything, I actually can seek opportunities, and there are lots of opportunities for myself. So
100%. The opportunity is massive, and yeah, that's. I just want to share it with people because if everyone could experience what I've experienced, just specifically even in the last month, um, I think that would be a great gift to most people. You know, it's
yeah,
so liberating. It's such a great opportunity, and it's in terms of like when you hear how people just lose their whole portfolio in a day, like whether it's 2008, 1970, 1930, like when things just turn upside down and there's really no warning for you and you just get wiped out. I just feel like that's I mean, as much as you can avoid that, this space is that. Like, it's your best way to avoid that.
totally. Might be the only way. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well,
Especially in terms of measuring it. Like if you did want to chart or measure those inflammatory things happening in the market, it seems like this data gives the most clarity.
yeah.
Like
Oh, off
you'd be
topic. I want.
stupid not to look at it.
Yeah. Off topic. With all the Charlie stuff that's last week. So, I was the the biggest funders of the trans movement in the United States are two basically Chinese billionaires. They fund it all. They don't do any of it in China. They don't fund any of that propaganda in China. They don't have any family or kids that are trans. They don't believe in that. Like China, is all about masculine men, right? So this whole movement is basically funded by China, and it's just meant to create a culture war within the United States. I mean, that's it's like that. How do you bring down a nation? You make it eat itself from the inside. Anyway, so I don't want to get into the weeds on that because that's not what this is about. But I found that super interesting. Like they have poured hundreds of millions of dollars into the United States to promote the trans agenda.
Yeah, and like what other funding, you know, like I think it's all the way up the into the institutions and everything, man. Like
Oh
I
yeah,
don't, I can't believe that Marxist ideology is being taught the way it is, and I don't think that that is being funded accidentally. I don't know what exterior agendas have
it's
that.
not incidentally. No, the
Yeah.
Chinese have they have more like more, I guess, human capital involved in espionage around the world than any other country. I don't know exactly how you track that, but I assume, I
Well,
believe
this
that.
is this is another reason why that James Lindsay guy is so fascinating, and I've been listening to him so much lately. But he goes into the history of Maoist China and exactly how culturally influenced well China through this Maoist regime of a form of Marxism and like you're saying a classism. There's like a classism component, whether you're separating it through breaking down the family. There's tons of ways of doing it. The gender ideology, classism. There's tons of ways of basically breaking down the structural integrity of the society that's already there, and that's the main goal.
Yeah,
Is
and I think the
is
one that
that
most people can very much see and understand is just the economic breakdown of the nuclear family, and where it's very difficult for one person to go out and earn the money and have someone take care of your kids. Like both parents have to work so often, so that's something that's so different. I mean, I was just looking at a stat from 1972. What the average house was, I think, in the United States was $26,000, and or maybe it was Canada. But anyways, $26,000, and the average median income was 11,000. So that's like a ratio of 2.5 to 1. And currently today, it's like 10 to 1.
yeah, I've seen that
The
same
average
chart.
income, the housing prices.
Yeah.
So that's pretty crippling.
Yeah, and I
Um,
mean that relates so much to the sound money problem, because
yeah,
although I defended fiat there for a second, obviously our fiat system in Canada is so inflated that people with money have no incentive to bank in any way with the Canadian dollar. In fact, they would be way more financially literate to hold their wealth in something like a speculative asset like real estate.
yep.
So the reason our prices of real estate go up so much is because they're being used as banks. They're being used as speculative investments for people to sit on their money rather than
They're
homes
being
for
used as
people.
stable coins.
That is what it is. And what the
Yeah.
irony there is they're barely even winning there. So our banking sector is failing the market so much that even if you're holding $1 million mansion, you're still probably losing to inflation. You're not losing if you as much as you would be if you were holding the dollar, but you're still
Right.
probably just breaking even or maybe a little ahead by the time you pay all your taxes and maintenance and all that. And you'd have to be running a really fully fledged business and be into the market pretty early to like come out, really, really on top. And I mean, the other thing too is location with real estate. If it's again, it is like cars. If you are savvy and if you are, aware of real estate, I'm sure you can make a killing off it. But you have to have those skills. It's not
You
like I'm
do.
saying, it's not some person with a retirement plan just speculating, thinking, "Oh, my house has gone up from 300,000 to 800, so it's bound to go to 1.5 mil in another 10
Right.
years." Like that kind of idea.
It's super difficult. I have a friend actually. When I went out to Lethbridge for like 4 weeks, she moved out there like 3 years ago, and she didn't even have very good credit, but she was still able to buy. I think she ended up buying like three different houses, renting them out. She made about
What
20.
was your credit, if you don't mind me asking? Like
I
what?
don't know. I didn't ask. She
I
just said it
wonder
wasn't.
what not very good credit would be, like relative to
Yeah, I don't. I
three
didn't.
apartments.
Yeah, I don't. Well, they were homes, but Yeah, so I didn't ask that detail, but she, I think one she flipped in like 2 years. She'd put I think 20,000 into it as far as renos and flipped it for a 50K profit. So there was 30K there, but then like you've got all the other costs involved with just even the maintenance, showing houses, like your time when you're renting it out, the liability with some renters. Like it's a lot of freaking work at the end of the day. And like people just do like the raw math sometimes without considering any of that. They're like, oh well, here's what you're paying on your mortgage, here's what you're charging for rent, you're up 600, and they multiply that by 12. And it's like, well, okay, but there's a ton of things in there that you're not considering. So and she's
Liability in all directions being the main
yeah,
thing. Yeah.
right. So but she did well for herself, but still it's a lot of work, and she has her own job where she's working from home and she's juggling a lot of plates. But again, she has those skills and those talents. She's very good with AI, and using that to do a lot of like note taking and screen capturing for different processes and training their team on how to do things. And so she's very good with all of that. Yeah, she's quite talented actually. But again, that just speaks to like anything, right? I mean, the more talent you have in a certain area, like whether you're a mechanic in cars, it can increase or decrease the value of anything, right? So it's like education and execution, I suppose, right? At the end of the day.
Yeah, yeah, that's why I go back to this idea of education because I guess we could look at the problem of stagnant money or the housing issue being used as like a speculative banking option for wealthy people or retired people as a,
Or
we could look at it two different ways. We could look at to our politicians and our central planners to create a vehicle for us to help us out of this, right? So that fix the Carney, fix the banking sector. Our money shouldn't be so inflated. That's one way of conquering this problem. The other way, and this is the way I like to look at it, is like I think Canadians are just scared shitless and are financially illiterate. They
yep.
haven't been educated on how to invest in the future. They haven't been told that the next generations coming up. It's a full cycle, right? Because not only are the boomer generation basically financially illiterate in a lot of cases, but also the upcoming generation is. So you have this fully stagnant market where boomers aren't really moving their money into the up and coming generation because they don't see that as a profitable they'd rather just sit on their house and speculate on that because they think
Yep.
that would go up faster than actually investing in the future, and it is kind of to a degree true because our young people don't understand much about building businesses in finance either, although that I think entrepreneurship's probably on a rise
Oh,
compared
for
to
sure.
where it was 20 years ago. Yeah, so I think the hugest solution to all this is taking the market back into our own hands as sovereign citizens and encouraging local investment, local collaborations, local business, like actual business, and the fact that that isn't is that politics and hyperbolous thinking about how much we should centrally plan our way out of these problems is so mi- misinformed and misguided in terms of education.
And there's
There
so
could
much
be
corporate
campaigns
too.
popularizing these ideas.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, and you'll certainly know that perspective better than I. But yeah, it's just there's so much corporate capture, where it just becomes so top heavy in everything, like the dairy cartel in Canada, where we have that, uh, we're dumping out millions of gallons of milk because, like, it used to be like 30 years ago, you had tons of small suppliers for milk. Well, now the contracts are so big that there's like a dozen in Canada, or whatever. Like that's very small because the contracts are so big that like no small guy can fulfill
It's
any of
because
the contracts.
yeah, it's because every Walmart, Safeway, superstore, they need their milk. And so unless you can fill that contract, which is godly amounts of milk every day, you're not going to get the contract.
Well, they could fill it with all those smaller suppliers for sure, right? Like if
There
you have
wouldn't,
10
yeah,
people that have $100 versus 100 people that have $10, like, or whatever production value, like it would cost them more because now you've got to do business with 10 suppliers to fill your quota instead of just one,
totally.
So
And you're
it
not going to
just,
have, it's funny though, because that would in the end be a better store. You'd have so much diversity in product and everything. You obviously wouldn't have this like homogeneous one product, one label thing, right? You're going to get tons of different kinds of milks, tons of different prices, tons of different supplies. Some will be, right, but like in the end, that's a better store. Like
yeah.
if you go to the milk fridge and there's 30 different options, all different prices and qualities and quantities and all those wonderful things, that's a great store.
Do you think there's an issue with deflationary money causing economic growth to be slower?
This is an interesting point. Like I don't know if have you ever considered this, Chris?
Just right now.
Yeah, so like the opposite of what inflation is. It's an interesting point because technically Bitcoin isn't deflationary yet, although at one point it will be. For now, there is Bitcoin being minted. There is a supply of Bitcoin being created, but the supply is decreasing every 4 years. So this is a bit of a complicated thing to get your head around. I'm going to answer your question to her, but so do you get what I said, Chris, or maybe I should repeat it?
No, go ahead.
So the supply right now, Bitcoin is technically de-inflationary. Okay, it's because there's supply being generated right now. A truly deflationary currency would have a supply that goes down over time.
Mm.
So, like, let's say right now there's 80 million Bitcoin,
Let me
and
ask you a
next,
question real quick.
okay, go
So
ahead.
you say the supply goes down now. As more people want to get in, when the supply gets capped, is that not a similar effect?
Yeah, but yes, the supply capping is the very issue. Right now, technically, the supply of Bitcoin isn't capped. I mean, it's capped in the future, but
Right,
for
at
n-
20,
but
21 million, right?
right, but for now, it's not at that number.
Right.
So every day there's more Bitcoin being created. I don't know what's going to happen when it's truly deflationary or at least stagnant, right? Like the idea of deflation, I do look at it as a good thing, Herb, to answer your question quickly. I do look at it as a good thing, but I've heard skeptical arguments that are somewhat convincing. The problem is, from my standpoint, when you look at Bitcoin, what's happened during deflation, or what we like to think is like a deflationary calculation in terms of money, is that things get cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the Keynesian skepticism of this is that, well, the in order for things to truly get cheaper, we still have to maintain a certain productive production, right? A certain level of production. So the math does have to math, but like in terms of Bitcoin, the first Bitcoin was bought. The first Bitcoin that was sent on the network was to buy a pizza, and they bought it. They bought it for like I don't know. I can't remember, like five Bitcoin, a
I think
Bitcoin
it
or
was
five
two Bitcoin.
two
I think it
Bitcoin.
was. Yeah.
Yeah. So imagine. That's what deflation in my mind looks like. Like imagine if we went to the grocery store 10 years from now and everything was that much cheaper. Like rather than a chocolate bar being $1, it was 1 cent.
Yep.
And then instead of milk being $5, it was 5 cents. And then 10 years later, it was 1/5 of a cent.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what deflation would look like. But again, it gets a little, there's obviously like an asymptotic relationship there mathematically, because like the numbers are obviously representing the supply and demand of the good at a certain point, you know?
Right.
So, I mean, it's an interesting question. It's a really interesting question.
That's a very interesting question. Herbert Morris is obviously a pretty intelligent fella.
Yeah, and also very generous with the likes and the compliments. That's also kind of related to volatility. Yeah, but I mean, like, we need to know whether we're thinking about volatility of a good, right? And like the elasticity of a price of a good, or like the volatility of the price of our money. So it's really tough because right now the Canadian dollar, we just calculate in terms like if we were trying to figure out how much is the dollar worth, well, we could only compare it against a basket of other goods, like using this CPI, the Consumer Price Index. We could maybe roughly try to speculate what the rough value of the dollar is, right? But trying to speculate what the value of cheese is or value of milk is, like these are all basically speculative things. So there is no true value at the end of the day of anything.
No.
And whether and volatility, what we don't want is volatility in the dollar. The elasticity in the price of a good is totally healthy in the market, right? As cheese goes bad, it should be discounted, or rare expensive wine should be put up on the upper shelf. Like these are all fine. It's the
Yeah.
volatility in the price of the actual value of the dollar, the inflation of the dollar that's so detrimental to the economy.
Hmm. Yeah. Very well said.
Yeah, in terms of inflation, the thing about deflation, right? Like if the any time we think about a central planner controlling the economy, that would be harmful. So when we think about deflation looking like a Keynesian central planning bureaucrat chopping inflation rates or something, I would totally agree that that is harmful. But that's not like organic deflation through market pricing, you know? So we have to be kind of be careful here. Like deflation or inflation really are just symptoms of central planning, which are these bureaucrats who think they can manipulate the either the value of the dollar or the market or the economy or the policies dictating such. That is the problem. Deflation and inflation are more just symptoms of that central planning ideology. Capitalism and the open free market relies on sovereign individual market actors to, consent into trade and exchange in order for price data. So there's not really this like biased political agenda that with our good intentions manipulates the market
Yeah.
using either deflation or inflation or a variety of other fucking problems.
That was a freaking great question. I think we've been talking about it for 10 minutes.
Yeah, really, really good question. Will it be the volatility towards of Bitcoin? Well, that's what I'm curious about her because, like, in terms of Bitcoin's volatility, it's a hard thing to measure. In terms of supply, it's not very volatile, right? It has a consistent output of supply. So Bitcoin's volatility in terms of supply is low. In terms of price, it's hard to measure what the volatility of the price of Bitcoin is because you are measuring it in terms of dollars, and
Yeah.
it could just be that the value of the dollar is rapidly falling. What if Bitcoin didn't change in value at all?
It would
What
still go up in value because these currencies are always inflationary.
Yeah, we would have no way of knowing if it is true that the dollar's rapidly losing value, then it could even be that Bitcoin, since that first pizza was bought, has actually lost value.
Right. Yeah. See?
We would literally have no way of even measuring that. How would we? How would we measure that?
Yeah. You measure it in a fiat currency that's,
Yeah. Or compare it to beef, or compare it to cars,
banana.
or compare it to
Yeah. Whatever.
houses. But
Yeah.
all these things are then related to dollars and the economy again. So
Yeah.
we're always using some bias metric to try and determine the
Pairs.
true value. Another, by the way, the quote unquote true value of things, that's another Keynesian concept. In the open free market, there is no true value of anything, and there's only price exchange. That's it. Price
Yeah.
is a historical exchange. That's it. Nothing has an actual true value in terms of dollars.
Yeah. It makes sense. Yeah. Correct.
Such a toxic idea. Like that's the most Keynesian idea ever. That there should be price equilibrium, and I've heard that peddled on TikTok before. It makes me want to puke. Imagine setting a price. Imagine the government coming in and setting a price on something.
Well,
Oh my God.
they kind of do that in some cases, right?
Herb's
Like
coming up, bro. Yeah. Sorry, Chris. Keep going. And Herb, jump in anytime.
they kind of, yeah, they kind of do that. With supply and demand, like specifically with our dairy cartel in Canada, right? Like we can't buy American products, American cheese, American milk. Like I remember, you know, 30 years ago, my friend's dad, they would always go down to the States and get gas and cigarettes and cheese and milk, you know, and because it was cheaper than buying it here, and you can't buy it here because of 480% tariff on, all the American dairy products, right? So just my experience with it. What's up, Herb?
Yo, what's up? Maybe someone can explain like how this is something I'm trying to understand how the volatility of the price of Bitcoin will become more stable as more people get involved and like start like using and interacting with cryptocurrency.
Yeah, I think that's gonna have to do with again what you're pairing it with, and then how that those fiat currencies are behaving as well, right? Logic.
Exactly. Like if if more and more people, Herb, use Bitcoin, but the dollar continues to be inflated, the price will not stabilize. It will just continue to go up and up and up.
Basically, I look at Bitcoin like, how dollars are pegged to some commodity, whether it's gold or whatever. I look at Bitcoin as the gold of this digital market, because essentially, if you're going to compare it to any fiat currency, all I've seen throughout history is government mismanagement of our funds, to the point where we just accept inflation like this thing that's just baked into the formula. And I don't see any point in history where governments have been responsible with our money where that doesn't happen. Even if inflation is low, it's still there. So
I actually, I also, okay, I might have a way to clearly answer Herb's question now that I've thought about it too.
I
As,
was just going to
Or
finish up saying
repeat what you
sorry,
said.
Chris.
I
Sorry,
just
Chris. Go
I
ahead.
was just going to finish up basically saying that, like, in that standard, like if you just sat on Bitcoin, just put your money into Bitcoin and did nothing else, no trading, no nothing, whether it goes down or whatever, it's always going to eventually go up, because inflation is always going to happen with fiat currencies. So as long as you're measuring the value in fiat currencies, it's always going to go up in the long run.
Yes, yes. But I will agree with you, Herb, that in terms of a market cap, right, as more and more people invest in Bitcoin, the market cap, the overall amount of currency that is fluctuating in the market of Bitcoin is going to go up. And so the price is a direct relation to that market cap, right? The price is a supply and demand calculation. The supply of Bitcoin versus the demand in terms of dollars. That's going to give you the raw price. That's the equation for the price. So the more the price goes up alongside the market cap, the the more exponentially it would need to grow in order to maintain that same momentum in terms of growth rate. So if you want to say that the price is stabilizing, what you're actually witnessing is just a bigger market happening, right? So it's more stable in the sense that one person's exit of the market is not going to impact the price at all. Even a whale with millions of dollars exiting the market is not going to impact the price. So in that sense,
right,
it
right.
is going to become less volatile in that sense in terms of like
Yes.
overall percentage impact of one individual market actor, yeah, making an impact, right? Where if you go down to a shit coin with a market cap of like $1 million, you can find coins with like 500 grand in them, total market cap. If you add, right, if you add another 500 grand, you are now 50% of the total market. Like, to talk about volatility, if that other person pulls out, you're on your own, buddy. You just lost all your money.
Yeah, I agree. Overall I agree. I agree with the way that people who are like pro cryptocurrency respond to that, and like I think it's an adequate response. Like I think it gets like I yeah, but I think it's also more of like it's probably a pragmatic sort of like people probably see it as like kind of risky because of that, and they might be afraid pragmatically to take that step, even
For
though
sure.
as more people get involved it will definitely become more stable. Just yeah.
You're nailing it on the head, and this is why earlier I was kind of expressing my frustrations with education because it seems as though we've been sort of well groomed, or I don't know, like taught that that the system we're in, the fiat system, is somehow secure, and that is the biggest lie of them all. I mean, if you don't want to get into Bitcoin, don't get into Bitcoin, but if you are broke and all you do is hold dollars, then you've got to take responsibility for that fact because the fact is you're holding the most volatile asset there is. You know, by holding dollars and thinking you're safe, you're basically exposing yourself to the most liability on the market possible. You're not investing in anything. You're literally taking losses moment by moment.
Yep.
And that is the thing that frustrates me when I look around at my peers and my parents. It's like this is going on everywhere, and it's really just an education problem.
You're right. Like, yeah, I haven't heard the term fiat money. Maybe someone could enlighten me on like what specifically that means.
Oh, that was good. Fiat is just a non-backed currency. So in the set before the 1970s, the dollar used to be pegged to gold. It used to be the gold standard dollar was the original way that the US dollar was formed. So when they made the dollar, the US dollar, it wasn't actually a fiat currency originally because it was pegged to the gold standard. So it literally
It was a
you could
receipt because you
yeah,
didn't want to
you
carry your gold around everywhere. You got to the bank, and if they gave them five things of gold, they gave you a paper saying you had five things of gold.
you always knew $1 worth X amount of gold,
Hmm.
always. But the moment in the 70s when it was depegged from gold, it became a fiat currency because now it's literally just a digital number in a computer. It's just a math token. There's not an there. It's fiat. By fiat, by decree, by political decree. This is
Okay.
legal tender.
Yeah, yeah. That like so it depreciates like the fact like it's gonna definitionally like or I guess analytically like depreciate because of the I guess like
It could
how that works.
only because you're relying on some central planner to regulate it. You could imagine like a socially agreed upon fiat system that maybe doesn't depreciate. The only problem is the consent factor. Like if there's any kind of coercion in the market or not a consent, well then you're looking at political tyranny rather than market actors exchanging like through their own sovereignty. And so I do think there's going to be inefficiency there when you talk about depreciation. I don't see how a central planner could ever fully understand the needs of every individual actor, even if they're super intelligent and have a computer or something that guides them. The true sovereignty of every individual is what empowers price action and exchange because one man's trash is another man's treasure. And for some diplomat to steal a mechanic's ability to fix up a car or a baker's ability to turn flour into a beautiful croissant or whatever is the very sovereignty that our entire society relies on to like function and be affluent and have all the wonderful things that we have. It's not the regulators and politicians that make you sushi and pizza and everything that's available around, on every corner of in Western culture. It's the independent entrepreneurs that like learn through their upbringing and their skill sets and their parents and all those things and then find those diamonds in the rough to make entrepreneurial profits that cause those incentives to be so.
I kind of lost what the original point was. I forgot it, but
Well,
I
you're talking
understood
about
all that.
depreciation. You're talking about depreciation of fiat currency, and you're asking like,
Right.
what is a fiat currency, and like imagine a system like prison where cigarettes and tattoos and drugs and all these things become and paraphernalia, those become the currency, in a currencyless prison. So a prison's a perfect example of regulators controlling the environment and trying to absolutely sanitize any sovereignty, right? Take away the freedom. And yet, even in prison, a free market emerges. And so that's a testament to the depreciation of your question of like not only fiat, but more importantly, a regulator's attempt to snuff out the sovereignty of human free will.
Wow.
That's a really strong example. I like that.
I know, that's amazing. Oh, Logic, you're the best.
Wow, thank you guys. I've thought about these things a lot.
Yeah, I know you have.
I've thought about them a lot. I really appreciate like prison dynamic, market dynamics, and like rule breaking. I'm very anti-authoritarian. Nonetheless, I'm not into crime. I don't like drug addiction. I don't like violence. So it's a really interesting dynamic for me to ponder on the ethics and morals of, because it's just so fascinating. Not to mention the culture that comes along with it in terms of like masculinity and all those things too. There's great studies to be done, I think, in terms of like the economics of prison. But because it's black market and crime, I don't know if those studies will ever be done.
I think the thing that hits me the strongest is how much um like influence like governments and big like corporate entities like having uh on the like the current currency
Yep.
and taking that power away from them. Like that's the part that hits me really hard, honestly. So I
Dude,
agree.
it's a tool of social cultural war. It's a war tool.
Well, and
It's a you go ahead,
it's
Chris.
true ownership. Like, like you own a home in Canada, you're paying property tax forever, right? And if you get to a point where you're 80 and the inflation, like there's lots of examples of this, at least in Canada. I'm sure other places as well, obviously, but where you've got someone whose husband bought the house for 20 grand, 6 grand, whatever, 60 years ago, and now she's widowed by herself on whatever, her money's run out, and now you're at a point where your assets inflated so much you can't even afford the property tax, and when that happens the government comes and takes your home. Is that real ownership? So this is something that they can't touch that way. It can't be manipulated by a banker or a government, or like you say, a corporate entity, nearly as much.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's probably that, Herb, that part that you just said hits you the home, or hits home the most to you, is what also hit home the most to me.
Me
And just
too.
that
Me
ability
too.
to escape, truly gives you an opportunity to escape, this system that so many people complain about and then just don't feel like there's a way out of. Well, there is, and that's what's so exciting to me. You know, it's the upside is just phenomenal. I mean, and even on the low side, like just as a hedge against inflation, I mean, it costs, your average person in Canada, like I'm with TD Bank in Canada here, and it's $17 a month. If I don't have 4 grand in my account, I'm paying $17 a month just to use my debit card. It's $200 a year just to participate in the system. You're losing on top of inflation.
Just to
So,
have a place before you even have any money, you could just go into debt just having a bank account. It's negative
yeah,
$17 the first month you didn't deposit any money, you're negative $17. The next month, another negative 17 and just keeps racking up. And you haven't even added any money yet. And think about the entrepreneurial spirit of $4,000 turning $4,000 into a $4,017. Like it would any entrepreneur with even just the slightest bit of movement, even just literally like what would it take to make $17 off of $4,000 in a month? right? It's literally like the amount of risk you'd have to take to make that shouldn't. It's nominal. It's not. You should be willing to lose $17, right? If you mathematically calculate it, it's like every month I'm risking $17 anyways on my bank. So why aren't I willing to at least even just risk 17 on an investment? Like, makes absolutely no sense.
Hmm.
I think I have like a whole bunch of cognitive dissonance when it comes to not fully recognizing how like our money is like depreciating in value.
Oh, dude, it's ingrained in us.
Yeah.
It's ingrained in us. The scariest part and the most freeing part is that there's no way to measure it. There's actually all the economists are lying. There's no actual way to mathematically even calculate the leakage of value in our dollar. There's no way to even do it. So that for me, I told Chris that like when I started getting into this and it felt like I like walked out of prison and then I was just in a like isolated wilderness with no humans around. So I had to go like I
The
had to
same
like
with nobody else there.
yeah, so you're free, you get this freedom, but you get this sense of isolation too because everyone's still back in the prison. So the cognitive dissonance you're referring to is this like social dynamic. Like you don't really want to take responsibility for all the ways because it's so comfortable to just sort of, you know, be in this. It really is comfortable in the prison. They have all the food, they have all the clothing. You were birthed in that prison, and when you get out, it's very isolating. You're in the wild west. There's no more concrete walls to protect you. You're now seeing the leakage at every purchase, at every price point, every time. The FOMO becomes a lifestyle, dude. It becomes like a spiritual awakening, the amount that the cognitive dissonance starts impacting everything. My optimism, for instance, and my epistemic humility, my ability to approach like all the props you give me, Herb, is definitely, and if you're not here, no pressure to respond or whatever, but you know the props you give me is definitely in direct response to this culture, like in terms of my humility, my ability to conversate. It's directly related to my financial literacy and like looking into Bitcoin more. It gives me emotional stability, it gives me optimism. You can hear it in Chris too. It sounds like we're in a cult.
Uh,
A cult that requires absolutely nothing and is like a pyramid scheme turned upside down on its head. It's like the
yeah.
opposite of a pyramid scheme. Because I don't get anything. I don't get anything from affiliating, being an affiliate, from teaching people about this, and I don't make anything from it. Yet I am so dedicated to teaching people about it and talking about it. I don't
Yeah.
get any money from it. I'm never going to make a single dollar off of that, unless there's no way that I could make dollars off of that. Like, I'm so short, such a short-term trader now at this point that getting people into Bitcoin is not going to help me because I could just short the market on the way up and lose all my money anyways, being an idiot.
I mean, if you got a whole bunch of computers, or I guess just like one small one. I mean, are you mining?
My main thing is trading and like
Yeah.
so the whole problem here is like let's say I accrued a bunch, even if I did mine her, like let's say I accrued a bunch of money in Bitcoin. Well, now I still have every moment of the day I still have a decision to make about what do I do with that fucking money? Do I keep it in Bitcoin? Do I cash it out in dollars? Do I trade it into another coin? Do I invest into a house? And every single decision I make is another risk. So I could be educating people about Bitcoin, sounding like a cultist, right? Oh, come into Bitcoin. I'm going to make money off of people investing in Bitcoin. Then I get a bunch of money and I buy a house and I fucking lose it all because I pay a bunch of taxes and the house has a fractured foundation, and all that affiliate marketing for Bitcoin did me no good because I'm right back to square one. I'm just in the free open market, the wild, wild west. I'm a sovereign individual to make whatever fuck up decisions I want to make in this life, and there's nothing anyone can do about it. You know?
Yeah. I wasn't trying to insinuate that you would have intentions like that in the first
I
place.
know
I
you
was
weren't.
just
I know
thinking,
you weren't. I know you weren't. Oh, dude, I know you weren't. I just mean that even from again going back to this like regulator's point of view, Like in a social, to be skeptical of a billionaire and elite is somewhat conspiratorial, right? Because they have this responsibility with their wealth that they are losing and leaking at every moment. They can't make decisions fast enough to save their wealth either. Once you realize inflation's a problem, you realize it's a problem for everyone. All of these entrepreneurs and businessmen are taking risks at every moment with all their money, and most of the time they're probably fucking losing. Billionaires who get to the top are losing tons of money at every moment, right? Most people wouldn't be able to hack it in terms of emotional stability when they looked at their portfolio, right? If they were a billionaire, because the moment they lose $1 million, they'd be shaking in their fucking pants.
Yeah.
They wouldn't even understand how to calculate. They literally, when they saw the zeros on in their portfolio, wouldn't even be able to account for the $1 million loss. They'd be so overwhelmed with the math that $1 million would be gone in seconds. Seconds.
Yeah. While you're just trying to figure out the calculation. Yeah.
Yeah. They'd be literally leaking the moment those assets went into their portfolio. Businesses would be like crumbling, managers would be quitting, like it would be like an immediate failing. They'd be like maybe a multi-millionaire by the end of the day.
And just to like circle back to your point, Herb. Obviously, we know you didn't intend or weren't implying that that's what Logic was gonna do. But for me, like the whole point of us even talking about this is we love the space. So we don't, we're happy that you're here. And if anyone, I just the excitement and enthusiasm that I have that Logic was sort of just articulated, that you can hear it in my voice. I want everyone to experience this. That's it. That's my whole goal. I don't have an end goal of, you know, trying to grift or trying to teach people how to invest. I want to show people the mechanics so they can make their own choices. I want to just introduce people to the space, the benefits of it, give them a better understanding of it, and then go do with that information what you will. That's my only motivation here. I want to learn more. It's super exciting. It's so freeing. It's so liberating. The potential of blockchain technology and just other social applications are phenomenal. Just from even imagine voting, for elections, to have zero fraud, zero election fraud, just anything. I just want other people to experience what I'm experiencing because it's an amazing feeling. That's why we're doing this. That's why I'm doing this. I think that's true. I think Logic, you're the same, right?
Yeah, and it becomes a medium of curiosity. I like what you said there about learning because, like, why am I here? It's like I found a canvas for learning. It's like I've reinvigorated, like Chris said it the other day about he feels like he's back in school, but it's like good school. It's like art school on day one in kindergarten type school where you're like it's a medium for learning. Like, why am I up here? Because I have so much to learn about. All the questions you're digging into, like the question with deflation and everything, for me to be able to answer that is so empowering in so many ways. Like, it's such a fascinating topic. It's almost like I'm in a mystery movie or something, Like I'm part of the podcast that I'm listening to. Yeah, it's super super fulfilling.
100.
I had another question. Sorry, like, oh yeah, I agree. I
Don't say
think that's
sorry.
all
Fire
awesome.
him away.
um, um, okay, have you heard any like good critiques of like the proof of work process for creating blockchains?
Yeah, I mean, Ethereum uses a whole different system called proof of stake. And this
That
is where this is where the history of these terms get very, very interesting. On TikTok, we hear debates about capitalism and Marxism and communism, socialism all the time. And well, in the crypto space, all these terms are being kind of experimented on. Like proof of stake is an ancient, well, not ancient, but it's an old Marxist part of ideology. So if, for instance, if you were more critical of the proof of work protocols, Well, there's a space in this finance for you to support the proof of stake
Oh.
protocols, which is Ethereum. So it's really fascinating to see how all these different governance and political agendas have branched into the tech, and with their own protocols and coding, they've been able to like gamify banking in a way that you sort of diplomatically and distributes globally everyone's participation.
I think I still like lean more towards like proof of work, but
Me too.
I think I probably need to learn, like I need to read about both like in
Proof
depth.
proof of work is like pretty trippy in terms of money because it was just a way to solve spam emails. Proof of work, when email came out, spam was a problem, and proof of work was a solution to sort of deal with spam. But then later, through the white paper on Bitcoin, whoever Satoshi Nakamoto is, adopted this proof of work standard in a money system, because you could see how spam like issues on security networks for a currency would be a problem. So if you could use something like proof of work to alleviate that anonymity and security and build a secure network, then it would be financially viable to have it as a network to like trade on. So that's, for me, I do find that more convincing than like the proof of stake, because proof of stake alleviates goes back to these ideas where like if you're not interested in the sovereignty of each individual actor, then maybe proof of stake might be more endearing or whatever, or more like sympathetic to you. But like it depends on your political sort of leaning here, you know. Like for
Yeah,
me, I agree with you. Proof of work seems more free market at least, and enshrines the sovereign individual.
you be more sympathetic to like a democratic or like social democratic like proof of stake sort of thing.
That's what Ethereum is. It's like a social democratic one, and like I'm sympathetic to the view, but no, overall, like I'm pretty critical of it. I am sympathetic. I guess I could articulate it in steel manner, but it goes back to the issues I had with the central planner. You know, the central planner just seems inefficient even if they have good intentions, even if they're voted in, legally and without corruption and all those kinds of things. It just still seems inefficient to have someone at the top dictating any real market decisions, unless it's truly in the direction of protecting the open free market, like maybe alleviating a monopoly or crime. Like crime can't happen in, like, as soon as there's theft, right? Now we're not talking about an open free market with consensual exchange. So there does need to be some social dynamic to protect theft, but I mean, public policing entities have existed throughout history forever. So I don't know if there necessarily needs to be like a central federal authority telling our municipal police how to act, but maybe there does need to be some overreach. But in terms of banking, definitely not. I don't think there needs to be a central planner with his hands in the interest rates, in the inflation, governing the supply of the dollars. That seems way too close to the money, and that seems like we're putting money in politics way too much. Politics should be not about inflation rates, and it should be more about, well, maybe legal policy or those kinds of things, moral and ethical issues, not banking math.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think that like when you speak about the moral and ethical issues, that makes me think about how this is kind of a weak objection that I read, but like people will say that cryptocurrency can be used on the black market, so it can be used, for all types of things. But obviously, you could do the same thing with the fiat money that we use now, and we don't ban that. But I'm wondering if there are some actual benefits um, to cryptocurrency, like on that front. Like maybe there's like a
Well,
way to
that's
account for
that's
that.
the yeah, that's the whole idea of like what an unregulated market is. I mean, I am an advocate for an unregulated market with all the problems that it comes with, including what the black market would now bring, because that would no longer be a black market. An unregulated market would basically, you know, not have any sort of laws dictating what could or couldn't be sold or traded. Because to your point, and this is, I think, the most important point, that shit goes on already. So that's kind of where, as regulators, even if we were going to be regulators, right, still seems inefficient to remove the sovereignty of individuals, because without that data, how are you going to like prevent crime? Or, it seems like price data and trade data is like kind of going back to that prison dynamic. It's like that's the very thing that allows us to make laws in the first place. If every time out of the womb you just like threw a baby in the cell, no culture emerges. So like the very culture we're trying to regulate depends on the freedom of every sovereign individual to partake. Unfortunately, and mostly fortunately, it's a skeptical view to be like, what about the bad actors? Because it's like, yeah, unfortunately, there's going to be all the bad things, weapons, sex trafficking, all those things, all the human conditions will still continue. But at least now we'll have some data on it. At least now we'll actually be able to see which wallets, maybe there will be a little more ability to prevent to a certain degree how these things go down because of the transparent data. Right now, it's completely under the table because, to your
Right.
point, even though people might use fiat dollars for certain transactions, a lot of this isn't they won't use the fiat system because they know if they have a TD bank account linked to their like drug sales, that they can't stay up for long, right? So they're going to use other methods. Like they'll take gold, they'll take silver, whatever they can get their hands on. Other drugs, they'll take whatever they can kind of trade, right? And they
Yeah.
become, and like in reality, that's the market.
If you're in Vancouver, you just use a Chinese bank.
Yeah, overseas banking. Yeah.
We
So
have so much illegal. I'm gonna say rug with the D at the beginning of it. Money in our, you know, in our real estate system here. That's by far more than supply and demand. What's driving housing prices in Canada?
Yeah. I'm thinking now about how, um, because of the public ledger and I guess like having public access to those transactions, I don't know, maybe it's like a slippery slope to think that like if people are doing like shady business, we could, I don't know, say something about that or use that as evidence. But I don't know. It does kind of sound like a slippery slope, but it's also like I agree that it's better than what we have currently, where it's just going completely unseen.
I agree.
Chris made a really good point earlier about private property. So like I think of private property, right, as like in a tyrannical prison system, right? If society was like an open air prison, private property, even right down to bodily autonomy, is removed. You don't have any, maybe even a slave economy, right? You could imagine the problem with that economy is that there's no sovereignty whatsoever over any property. You don't even have your own bodily autonomy. So when we start extending private property to other things, right? Like at least we can get to the bodily autonomy part, but once we start extending it to other things, there's going to be like issues to the contractual agreements of those extensions. So the trade and barter system, has to start somewhere. And if we can get to at least what I would say is the golden standard of private property, like even beyond bodily autonomy, Bitcoin enshrines. Because if you come and jack me up, that doesn't do anything for your ability to steal my Bitcoin. So there's these throughout history, the incentives that govern things like violence, right, are related to the soundness of money. Because if you can steal someone's gold, if you can burn down the castle and get the loot, right, there's an incentive for violence. But if we get to a system where violence no longer really works towards actually efficiently stealing the money at the end of the day, then private property becomes extendable to other things like bodily autonomy, or maybe even actual property like land or vehicles or those kinds of things. So through my lens, private property hasn't even begun to extend yet to anything because Bitcoin is so new that it's just basically created a protocol for the first time in history for private property to actually exist. Before Bitcoin, all of our notions of private property have just been like policy related and enshrined through a monopoly on violence, relying on like our police or a military force or some sort of like legal enforcement, right? But those aren't hard brick walls. Those are just facades. Anyone can walk through your front door and break it down and assault you at the end of the day, right? So alleviating those systems and really getting to the bottom of what private property is, another again another capitalist notion, another capitalist societal ideology, I think is like the most important part here for alleviating any incentives for violence, crime, corruption. I think all those things are downstream of a lack of policy enshrining private property.
Yeah, that's what I said.
I mean, yeah, that's a great point, Chris.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. This is what I do. It's like T-ball. I put the ball on the tee, and then Logic just hits home runs.
Nice.
Maybe I gotta shut up after a while. That's probably what's going
No,
on
you
here.
don't, because without you, there's no live chat here. Because most of these questions, well, if you and I were to discuss them, you're articulate and intelligent enough to understand what I'm saying, but I can't articulate it in nearly complete or as intelligent. I'm just not nearly as well read as you on the history. I'm just playing catch up. I'm years behind you, and I mean just basic vocabulary as well. So, I mean, and I'm telling you every day how much I appreciate like just all the work you put in, how intelligent you are, how articulate you are, and yeah, I mean just the fact that you're my friend. I feel like the same feeling I have about Bitcoin is the same feeling I have as far as my enthusiasm about you being my friend. I've won twice, so
Man, thank you so much, Chris. Fuck you guys. You make me blush, bro. I don't know how to take compliments like that after a while. Like, fuck.
I
It's
know
so
it's hard.
it's so
I'm
genuine.
working on you though. I'm giving you enough every day, so I'm just so happy every day. It's
I,
just ridiculous.
I feel the same way, man. I feel the same way.
Oh, I was gonna say, the point about private property, like now existing, like having like an actualized form of real private property besides like bodily autonomy, like in a theoretical sense, being Bitcoin. I think that's a really interesting thing I haven't thought of before today. I also haven't, like, this is my first time like reading about Bitcoin in general. In like, when I said I was gonna go read it, and like however long ago that was, but
Have
yeah.
you read the white paper or looked into like the white paper by Satoshi?
I've just read the summary that ChatGPT gives, but
Okay.
it makes perfect sense, like the summary. But yeah, I should go read the white paper actually.
I don't know if you know what a white paper is, but like every use case of some academic, like invention, innovation has white paper. See, most things have a white paper, or some of them will be labeled like a black paper. They'll have some kind of paper associated with it. And yeah, the Bitcoin white paper is the place where to start for sure. But I can't believe that you're coming back to it and so interested, Herb. That's really sick, bro. Like it's rare, man. Like I have talked about this to so many
Well,
people,
yeah.
and it's probably like 1 in 100 that even become interested in it. So
And it's so overwhelming too, right? So like if you are financially illiterate, like and maybe like where does your
I
motivation
am.
from too, right? So like to even learn like just the mechanics, which for me I have to say even AI has helped a ton with that because it's just you know every question I have, I can get a pretty good answer to very quickly. So it makes the research and investigative phase much shorter, which is obviously exciting. You get a little bit more of that instant gratification, and it seems a little bit less overwhelming. But I think that's the main thing for a lot of people is it's just like it's like another language, literally, right? So Um, but yeah, it's. I just want more people to get involved in the space. Like it's truly a gift. So I want more people to experience it.
No, yeah. Honestly, like learning about it today has just made me go like, dang, like I really just need to go read economic theory like textbooks and just start on that because I haven't been interested, but like now I actually kind of am having read a little bit about it and it makes sense.
That's
Bro,
awesome because that's honestly, I think, Logic. That's one of the main reasons why we wanted to do this, right?
I can't believe how fulfilling that is, bro. That's so sick
Yeah.
that you're interested in it. I'm gonna tell
I
you
have
right.
goosebumps right now. Chicken skin.
I'm gonna tell you right now too. I had the same apathy about economics and finance and everything. Like I went to university, took economics. Like I had the exact same apathy until I really dove down this route, and it is eerie, or I don't know how to process the political implications, bro. When I talk about private property and how that's a capitalist ideology, I'm just being transparent with you. I was a fucking skeptical of capitalism. I was the classic, like, so against materialism, capitalism, rich people, the system, the government. Like, that was me when I was 26, 27. Now I'm 33, and I've had 5, 6, 7 years to dive into this crypto space. And it's impacted my politics because, like, the more I learn about it, the more I realize how much our institutions do not employ the political rhetoric with financial literature. Like the economics is really what empowers our political lenses, even in terms of like humility and all those wonderful things. Like you wonder why people on TikTok don't have those skill sets. It's because they're financially illiterate, they're broke, and they don't understand the system that they're critiquing. They don't even understand the policies that they're economic policies. They think that they're like moral or ethical policies, like how I said, politics should be. It's not what politics is today. They're all financial policies. Every politician's campaigning ultimately on economic policy. That's what the law is. They're not making ethical or moral decisions. They're literally redistributing tax dollars. So like again, the dissonance, which is the word you use, is a wonderful word. The dissonance between financial literacy, like for people to be debating the difference between Marxism and capitalism but not know what inflation is, it grinds my gears, bro.
Yeah, for sure. I think I got like a real wake up call when do you know who like Brecad is on TikTok?
Doesn't ring a bell. That name doesn't ring a bell. Maybe I do though.
She's she like basically kind of like rage baits as like a caricature of Marxism and she like runs this debate topic that says like should men be in prison from ages 18 to 23 and she's just like rage baiting like capitalists and like
That's
leftists
funny,
in
bro.
general. Yeah, it's like really good.
If you see her on live, send that to me. I would love
Okay.
to. I would love to hop in on that. That sounds hilarious.
Yeah, I definitely will.
Yeah,
Um, but
you
yeah,
if you.
it's just. Oh, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, Logic. If you do hop in on that, make sure you let me know.
I will.
But yeah, it just made me think about how little I actually know about like economic theory in general.
My world, being friends with Logic, every day he informs me of how little I know on various subjects.
Dude, you guys have already taken in basically everything I know. Like I reiterate the same 20 points. You know what I'm saying? Like it sounds dense at first, but now Chris has been listening to me rant for a month and I don't know if there's much I could really get past you at this point. And he's showing me tons of stuff at this point too. So, and he's only a month in. Like I'm 6, 7 years deep. And like I said, it was very much like me leaving a prison and going into the wilderness. So it's so nice to have other people getting firewood and shit. But so like yeah, and it's funny how the what's the posture of these conversations really do seem like a prison setting. Like when you go to TikTok lives and you hear these like kind of like academics debate at each other and yell at each other, it's like the main room or something where everyone's just getting checked into the prison cells. But when you go into like the isolation chamber where one guy's just been in there for like 5 years by himself. He's like so happy to just see anyone like that, and that's the kind of, it's like I feel like that in these conversations. I'm just so giddy. I'm like, oh my god, please don't leave. Like I'm sorry, bro. Just have my pillow, bro. Like please, I know it's cold, but like we're in it together, bro. Like like the posture just becomes, it changes you. It really does change you because you become this like, I don't know, it's like a humble posture. It's like I don't have anyone to yell. We're all in this shit. It's almost comical. Like I just feel like a I don't know. Yeah, fuck.
I totally get that. For sure. Yeah, I think I'm gonna drop down, but thank you so much for answering my questions, both of you. It's been a lovely discussion.
Thank you for giving me credit for answering any of your questions.
All your dude, all your compliments and good faith and the conversation is invaluable, Herb. You have a wonderful day, bro. I can't wait to talk to you again soon, bro.
Yeah,
Send me
dude, we
any
appreciate it.
questions or ideas or anything. Feel free to always overload me with anything you got. I'm willing
Yep,
to hear you out.
anytime.
Thank you. Sounds good. Have a good one, guys.
You
Much
too, man.
love,
Take care.
G. So yeah, Chris. So now I gotta say,
Dude, we did
yeah,
it. That's the whole point of this.
most positive experience I've had on TikTok.
This is our first real, orange pill background.
We're gonna upload this. We can upload this to
Yeah,
YouTube. We
man.
can,
And we're one for one.
yeah,
Like one person's
yeah.
definitely gonna go investigate, reduce his financial illiteracy.
Oh,
Ah,
and we have like a partner. We have now in the TikTok space, like Herb's pretty well known and he's in every space. Like as this develops, it'll be so interesting to see the community kind of grow in the debate space and
well,
how
yeah, because he's gonna bring that legitimacy to the conversation that I never could.
and he already is. You could tell too the types of people that are interested in this are so smart. Like it's
Yep.
fun to be part of the smart crowd in that sense. Like it's kind of a filter, isn't it? It's like, okay, if you're not interested in this, that's fine. Because I know that the people that are generally like Herb, who are just, you just pick up stuff so fast. He's like he's steel manning the position so quickly, reiterating it back to me almost better than I could say it. And it's like, yeah, it's like I want him on my team. I want the types of people who are interested in this space are the types of people I want on my team, bro.
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, that's a great point.
You can't really, it's like a filter. You can't really get into this space if you're a dogmatic political idiot, can you?
Not really. You're in your own way.
Dude. And then that's another gift of Bitcoin. It's like,
Ah,
look how
great
far
filter. That
the
filter
tech,
is great.
bro, in the time of propaganda online, this is the filtration system for community building. Like, bro, what is happening, dude?
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
If you're gonna upload this, maybe you can find a little clip. Like you should make a little short. Like just with like,
Oh, I was gonna talk to you about this. Once it's uploaded, the full thing, both of
yeah.
us can go through and fucking chop that shit up. You like, yeah,
Okay.
make shorts of it, make highlights of it, whatever. Hell
Because
yeah.
the first thought I had was like, let's that moment where Herb was like, where he's like accepting it. Just that little clip of how he articulated where
For
what he's gonna
sure.
go do next. That would be a great clip to have.
Dude, yeah, 100%. Yeah, once I think the strategy for that is because you can go through preemptively and like try to capture highlights out of the full live, but just what I was doing before to save on editing time is just the whole live into a YouTube video, maybe chop up the starting where there was nothing happening, and then from there, yeah, chop it down into highlights and shorts and shit and
Yep,
reels.
hundred.
Put it onto Instagram even.
Yeah, and then I mean, even if you don't have time, but like the timestamps, just pass me the timestamps and I'll do the editing.
Yeah, 100. I mean, well, and once I think that's the thing is like once it's on YouTube, you are free to go through and
Well,
chop it up the
and I
whatever way
will.
too.
I'm just
Yeah,
saying, if I'm busy
yeah,
doing something else, and then you come across something, but you're happen to
yeah,
get me, just bounce it over to me,
totally.
and
Especially because we'll remember different things like going back. It's a long, like sometimes you talk on here for a couple hours, so we'll remember like you have that certain memory of a thing. You're like, oh yeah, that happened. You make sure to go
yeah,
back and catch that. Dude, so fun, man. Fuck, I can't believe I just that was I had an epiphany there about how this is a filtration system. I've never thought of that, and it really is, bro.
I've never thought of it either. And
What
yeah,
what a fascinating part of the full
keeping the
connection.
people that you're associating with up to a certain standard without having to
Yes.
enforce the standard yourself.
Oh my God. And amongst such unstandardization and such chaos, political chaos.
It's
Like
organic.
yeah, out of such political chaos, this organic thing emerges. It's so like mesmerizing, and it's like, dude, the tech has me like oh, like I don't even know, man. Like I'm like glazing over. I'm like glazed over, mesmerized by this tech, dude. It's like learning about the internet and video games and movies and fucking everything all at once. It's like better than all those things.
Yeah. Oh, 100.
Oh my God, dude. The filtration thing is crazy amongst it. Like I didn't realize what was happening during COVID, while I was learning all of this. Like now I just had that epiphany, bro. This is what was going on. I was literally cutting off the political bullshit for myself, and I found the new tool that not only it's like not only financial freedom and my own sort of freedom, but then community building and like all that becomes, it's like a vehicle for that, dude. Oh my
Yeah.
God, dude.
Yeah.
Bro,
Totally.
it's crazy
Totally
that
off topic.
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Um, Speaking, we're obviously not trying to make any money or anything off of this. Have you thought anything about merch? Oh, and then before that, actually, the domain thing that I was asking you about, if you could scoop up, have you
I
been
know,
able?
I know. Yeah, so a couple things with that. Like I said before, I have these other, it's like if I'm gonna be honest with you, I have these other websites, so scooping up another domain makes me fucking just feel overwhelmed, but that is me literally
Well,
just offering you an excuse. And I know
that's
that
okay. I can do it. I just gotta wait till the end of the month
it's
because I
one
gotta.
cent. It's 1 cent, bro. I should just do it. But the overwhelming feeling just comes from doing this. I've done this for 15 plus years where I've made bought domains, sat on websites, let them, paid for them, not really had them succeed, let them sit on the background. I have like like 4 or 5 websites that I'm still doing that with. So it just feels like another attempt at that, but I don't want to let that stop me from doing this. I'm just kind of like venting at you right now of like why I haven't pulled the trigger and like where my mind's at with it. It's like, yeah, it's just hard. It's just hard, but it's 1 cent, dude. And then the other thing too about your question about monetizing, it's like, again, that would answering those questions would make me feel a little bit better about the website. Like if our goal could be, it's 1 cent, so at this point, it literally does not matter. But if we could try to support it through whatever, I don't know how to make money off it. I don't know what we're
Merch,
selling.
merch.
It's a good place to start, but I mean, like
Start with a
also
man.
just, pardon me.
Start with a coffee mug. Like at least I like merch because it's a win-win thing. Like it's something, it's a practical thing that someone can use. Whether it's a coffee mug or whatever, and it's a way for people to at least get something for their, if they want to support us, um,
Yeah,
something for it, and it's completely
absolutely.
optional and totally up to them. It's a very transparent transaction. There's no shadiness on the back end, and it's totally up to the consumer. So you know,
I like everything you said. I agree with. Starting with coffee mugs would be totally fine. In terms of like stuff I can make, the t-shirt and sticker and like possibly embroidery type stuff is doable within a really short time. But even with today drop shipping or even just like online stuff, getting mugs and stuff is really easy. But I mean, fully contemplating what we just said about the whole like filtration system for the community thing and trying to monetize the space that we're doing here, it is kind of interesting to meditate a little deeper on what that product could be in terms of um
what that product
Bitcoin.
could be.
Well, in terms of the fact that Bitcoin doesn't have anyone, the branding is no one runs Bitcoin. The branding is wide open. right? Even the logo and stuff is just community designed and just been picked up. There's no one running this shit. So
Right.
it's a wide open economy in terms of merch and things like that. No, you can't get a cease and assist for making Bitcoin shirts. You see,
Yeah.
see how I'm thinking a little deeper about this, about the fact that we're actually in a space here, right? It's filtered out a lot of the legal um, Keynesian issues with like merchandising
Yeah.
and right, because
Copyright and all that. Yeah.
yes, Chris, yes, and we have freeway reign to brand it in our own way, brand really in a way, create something here,
Yes.
because right,
That's the way
because
I've thought about it from day one when you brought it up.
mugs are a good place to start for supporting the channel and all that, like even like with the way Crowder does it with mugs and stuff, I love that.
Yeah.
But I'm saying like there's definitely a further thing here, which I
Oh, of
don't
course.
really know what it is yet or how that looks, but yeah, there's something probably crazy potential with what that could be.
Oh, I think the potential's, I mean, about as unlimited as you're going to find, given the lack of copyright. You can be as creative as you want. So,
Like I think sick ass Bitcoin shirts that had some dope art and like a newer, fresher looking logo
oh,
incorporated into this logo using the classic Bitcoin logo, but like repping it on a shirt that looks dope is actually like, obviously I could go and order some Bitcoin shit off Amazon or something, but there isn't really like a brand who's doing, there isn't like I don't know if it's clothing or what. It's interesting. It's like I don't know if there's many people really doing that, selling Bitcoin merch. Like that's trippy.
yeah. I think it's, well,
Like have you never seen it in a store, for instance, right? Never
no,
seen that.
no.
You're right. Right. Exactly.
Well, and that's just another benefit of this filter, right? Just gives us more time to act on that. Like before someone else comes along and whatever does the same thing or something like that. But even as such, this, orange pill is that's ours, or it will be.
Like I wonder if someone could copyright the Bitcoin logo. Someone,
I
it
don't
must
know.
be. It
I
must be.
don't know.
Someone
Yeah,
came up with it.
yeah, yeah. I don't know. I don't really. I have no thoughts on that. Really, I don't. I don't know the legality.
It's really crazy because what doing this overtime merch, we all got into the deep discussion about it because there's like three graphic designers that all are BMXers that went to school for that shit, so they all had their opinions. Not
Oh
really
yeah.
good, not really about. I mean, we're doing such low quantities, we weren't really worried about cease and desist shit, but we just got into a heavy debate about how legal it really is and stuff because it's technically all illegal. Like we went and just bought Under Armour shorts and then put our logo on it and stuff. And like, but then when you buy a blank T-shirt, like we start getting into the debate about like how copyright works because yeah, you can't buy an Adidas T-shirt and then like put your own logo on it and sell it, but if you buy a blank Gildan like or like Walmart shirt and you put your own logo on it and sell it, that doesn't seem to be a problem. So there's so many gray areas in merchandising and stuff. Like I don't even know.
Well, I mean, like you said, we're not dealing with anything that's copywritten or copyrighted, however you say this. What is the correct way?
I
Copyrighted?
guess yeah, like yeah. What's the actual word? Like a patent? No, it's not a patent. What is it?
Well, it's copyright, but I
I
just
guess
wonder if you
copyright.
think
Yeah.
copywritten or copyrighted.
Right.
Copywritten sounds better.
Yeah.
But because there's none of that, I don't really see many barriers there.
I know. Like how sick is that? So another guy on here called Bear Cub. I think I might have told you about him. Did I show you the book he made me when you were at my place? I think I did. He hand made me a leather bound book, and he has like 200,000 followers on TikTok, and he could be like,
You
dude,
showed me this. I'm not remembering. I mean, you very well. See, this is the problem. I'm old enough now, and being in my, that relationship with Brandy, like you don't know what you've forgotten. So like, there was numerous times in the last 5 years where she'll be like, "Hey, remember such and such?" I'm like, "What?" And she's like, "Yada yada." I'm like, "Huh?" I'm like, no, I didn't.
It
and then
was
she'll
pretty.
say something that'll make me click on, and I'm like, oh yeah. So it's like, but it was like starting to get like, I mean, it was worrisome for me, like my recollection, So now we get to a point where you see enough examples of that. She's convinced me, like she'll lie, and then she'll tell me, like she's joking, like she'll lie about something, and I'll totally believe her that I've forgotten about this major thing that apparently I'm not remembering, and then she's like, no, it never happened. I'm like, oh, thanks, but like I totally believed it, like so, yeah. Recollection for me is like you very well could have shown me that. You might have totally not. I can't even lean any direction.
I'm
I'm
pretty sure I
literally
quickly.
delta neutral on that position.
I'm pretty sure I did quickly show you, but it was really quick. But yeah, it's just a leather. It's a really beautiful leather bound book that he's like stylized and customized for me, and he
You
only
must have
gifts.
shown it. You must have shown it to me. Sorry to interrupt you there.
No, you're fine.
You must have shown it to me while you were serving the food because that always takes
Yeah,
precedence.
yeah, I
At
think
the
I
poker
did.
table, when the food comes, when I'm eating and I raise, I always tell people I play a lot tighter when I'm eating food because I don't play.
Yeah, you don't want to
I don't
be in
play
the
the marginal
hands.
hand, so I just want to get to
Yeah.
my food. It's like a huge tell. If I'm eating wings and I'm opening an early position, I have aces or kings.
That's hilarious.
Fuck.
Oh, that's actually hilarious. Every time we play poker, I'm just gonna feed you, put food
Yeah,
down.
yeah. That's
That's
that's. I can
hilarious.
tighten my range way down when I'm eating. Oh, so funny.
But yeah, he on top of gifting me that book, he makes those books on live. Like he'll show the process of him making the book, and he'll have tons of people in those lives, and he only gifts the books, even though tons of people hit him up trying to buy him off of him, and I'm sure they buy for a few $100s. Like they're beautiful. Um, but he only gifts them, and he gifted one to me, and then later he got me into his group chat of developers trying to. He's got a website going, and he's like trying to build basically and incorporate crypto into his website. It's a little trippy. It's a little like lore focused, like mystical.
Okay.
You, yeah, but he's trying to incorporate crypto into it. So he's brought me on to try to get the wallet login and those kinds of things just into the
Some of the
work.
basic mechanics.
Yeah, basic mechanics, but it's a similar like what he's got going with the books, those leather bound books, is an interesting. I like how we're kind of brainstorming too on a product, basically a crypto product, and what
Right.
that looks like, how to incorporate that into the community building side of things, what yeah, all those kinds of things, and he's taking it further on the website, like where you can earn NFTs, like more of a video game style website. You're actually working through like challenges and that kind of thing.
That's cool.
But like I guess I'm going back to like these physical items. Like he's also making like actual silver pendants that are worth like $100 in real silver, so that when you get the $200 NFT, you instantly get a 50% rebate in real silver.
That's cool.
Yeah,
Smart.
so yeah, it's out there. It's testing sort of outward areas of what is possible with all this, but yeah, like you could. I don't know what. Maybe I should add you to the Telegram or whatever. Like I don't know. Like you could, coming up with a crypto product, I think is like a very huge potential here. But it's hard to think about fully.
Hmm. Okay. Well, it's fun to brainstorm these things. I mean, I've not really thought of anything unique yet myself. Sort of just merchandise wise. I mean, which I don't think necessarily we need to. I mean, I want to obviously, and something will come out of it for sure. I think that's inevitable.
Even the QR codes, like even that kind of thing on the merch, like that's kind of cool. You can do a lot even just with that.
Dude, I brought back QR codes. I don't know how they ever went away because the utility of them seems to me just so good. I started sticking them on all of the displays I was doing on the Falls Creek ferries because it's just like it was a no brainer. Like, why would you want someone to type in wild whales or whatever it is. Like just take them there. Bink, done. You know, like I didn't understand, like, because they gained QR codes were a thing, and then like before COVID, they kind of were not a thing, and then it's like, oh, they don't want to touch anything, so then they became a thing again, and I thought that was so weird to me because I've always seen the utility of them. It's just a shortcut, like it's just more efficient.
Totally.
Like I don't, how did these go away? Like I don't get that.
I don't know how to fully wrap that into other than like a link to a website or a link to a video. Like it'd be pretty cool to have if you gave merch, you have the QR code on the tag or something, and then that takes you straight to the YouTube with all of our orange pill talks or whatever. But that's pretty minimal usage of the tech, but that's a beginning, you know.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just see them as a way to get from A to B, so you could have wherever your destination is. I mean, that's sort of unlimited, is it not?
Exactly. Exactly. So the question becomes like where do you want the QR code to lead to? Yeah.
Yeah, tons of different places, whatever you're promoting.
I mean, you could have it so that it's the t-shirt like this is where it gets really cool but a little bit far-fetched or whatever. Well, I mean, not really. This I've played around with this. But like you could integrate the t-shirt itself into a NFT, so like it's a one of one or whatever or a one of 20 and you hold it. You not only do you have the shirt, but you have it as an NFT in your wallet.
Oh,
So
interesting.
yeah, so there's some things that could go. You could build a whole thing around that in terms of a more expensive shirt and less supply of that shirt. You know, is a rare NFT, so it's like mapped to the person who. Not only do you get the shirt, you also get that NFT that goes along with it. That's tradable on the market and proportionally rare to the T-shirt's value.
Yeah, well, it's just like the what you explained with the silver, right? The 50% sort of back. You're getting added value.
Exactly.
Just added value.
Exactly. Exactly. Um.
Value.
Yeah.
Herb, how excited are you for when he comes back next with whatever he's learned?
Dude, and he's like always. It's like he. Anytime I start a live, he's immediately in complimenting. So yeah, I don't know. He's part of the squad now. I guess we need to have like a name for the team. The Orange Pill Squad.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be so fascinated to join other lives in debate about whatever topic and see like our squad and like that would be so sick if it ends up being like a little like I
Yeah,
don't know debate team or
your
some shit.
squad. I'm gonna leave all of. I'm not. I will never, ever, ever. I mean, except for maybe Bitcoin one day, be in any sort of debate. Uh,
Well, what's
a,
gonna happen, Chris? What's
I
gonna
enjoy
happen?
listening to you, but I
You're
don't really
wrong.
enjoy what.
No, you're wrong because what's gonna happen is the more we talk up here, the more attention that gets on us, the more that our opposition's gonna want to come up here and grill us because that's what TikTok's all about. Herb was a the one out of 100 that's gonna come up here and get it. But the more we get people up here like that are like talking reasonably, the more exposed you're gonna get to the lunatics who come up here and espouse the
That dude that's
Marxist
up there
bullshit.
with the shut the fuck up thing.
Yeah, you're gonna jump right in, bro. You're not gonna be able to hold back because they're so obviously ignorant. You're gonna ask them
Right.
three
Okay,
questions
well,
like, "What is inflation?"
that's
and
sort
you're
of
gonna start frothing at the opportunity to make them look stupid.
fair enough, but that's involuntary. I'm saying I'm not going to voluntarily go into some
True.
other thing. Like our thing, sure. I'll defend our position as best I can, which again, without you, is going to be, difficult for me. Um, but as I learn, I'll get better. And but yeah, I'm not. I do really enjoy. I like listening to your judging critique. I really, what I most enjoy listening to is just how polite, how kind, how your just dishing out compliments, how your ego is not in it at all, at least not in a bad way. Like that's what impresses me. That's why I enjoy listening to you because I feel like you're like, you know, like the best of us kind of in that group of like this is what people should aspire to speak like and how to talk to other peoples with humility and respect while still being very anchored in your position without having to dunk on people and have these mic drop moments. And that's the biggest thing I've taken away. Like you're in that way so like wise beyond your years. And I just yeah, I mean, because I'm so guilty of that. Like like even just some of my responses, like in these videos where I got that strike for calling that person a retard, or whatever. But like, I just I have to check my emotions, sometimes, and so that's something that I'm working on, and I see it in you, and it's just a good constant reminder of trying to be better, So I just, that's what I like about it. As far as all the semantics and the arguing and some of these people that are clearly up there just with the rage baiting, I'm like, what is that really? Like, what is the good that's coming out of that? Like, what's your real goal? Is it virtuous in any way? And I find it not to be. So I kind of find those spaces a bit ugly as much as I find them to be fascinating.
Yeah, man. Oh, you're spot on, and your compliments are taken wholeheartedly. Like I think I said, like
I
I
know
said,
you have a tough time taking compliments, but
but bro, the whole time there, I was thinking about that prison thing again. How my humility really, it does feel like I'm a crazy person in a cell, and they're opening the door, and it's like, it's funny how that the posturing that you're appreciating in me, I can't help but sort of as I'm taking the compliment now, it's I've evolved in my ability to take the compliment. I'm realizing because like it's
yeah.
making me giddy in that like humorous sense. It's like the secret to the posture is so funny. It's like they haven't spent enough time, I guess, in this like isolation where like yeah, I picture myself literally in like my underwear and huge beard and like my hair, and I'm just like haven't eaten
Yeah.
yeah, and
You've
I'm
been
just
in a
like
cell. You've been in a POW camp.
bro, like if you came and talked to me, the gratuity I would have just for like a glass of water, like it makes
Yeah.
me tear up that more people don't really get to experience that. It's like the reason this is making me giddy is because I recognize that these like all the stories throughout history of the gulags and like the concentration camps and the slavery stories and all these, they must have in the real pain, they must have had some serious bonding moments of serious humor and humility, laughing themselves to sleep. Like we picture it all so dark, but those hard moments, man, like
Those
picturing,
are the little moments of freedom where you're
bro,
totally free.
you're so insane, you're so entrenched in the pain that you become detached from it. You
Yeah.
become, it's a humorous joke, like the two. It's just like yeah, people trapped on an island too. That's another one. Just like the humor that would start pouring out of you at a certain level of insanity.
There'd only be one person if that other person was a liberal. Just saying. I gotta eat and I like my protein.
Oh man, that like, well, that like, yeah, like that's the humanity that comes back into it. That like, I think Solzhenitsyn and Nietzsche and Solzhenitsyn, who wrote about the Gulag Archipelago, wrote about the gulags, bro. He talks about making allies with the enemy through, because when you're both in a cell together, what are you gonna, after a certain point, what are you gonna do when you're in the gulags? Maybe not in the American prison system where we have gangs and stuff, but I don't know, when you're both prisoners of war and you're supposed to be enemies of each other, I don't know, what difference does it make? You both have shaved heads and you're both starving. The old conflict becomes a joke. It becomes a humorous joke worth writing about, and his book, The Gulag Archipelago, shifted the culture and ended the Soviet Union. His book impacted the end of Marxism and socialism in the Soviet
Yeah.
Union because of that humorous, if you want to call it that, dark humor approach to the gulags. It's just, yeah.
Well, even like I think there was it was a clip I saw, and it was like a World War II clip where, you got two opposite sides on the front line, and they just sort of came to an agreement that over Christmas Day they weren't going to kill each other just for a day, and they like drank wine and like
Played soccer in the Dead Man's Land.
yeah,
I've
just for a
seen it.
day they took
Yeah.
off and they weren't at war, and then the next day goes and it's like, okay, start, we're back at war again. But yeah, those kind of moments are so fascinating.
Yeah, the thing for me is watching people devolve out of that, right? Culturally, when you go on TikTok and you talk about the spaces that are so toxic, I really do view it like the waiting room before they get to their cells. It's kind of like they don't have the humility yet. They haven't been ushered through the process. They haven't been stripped down and searched yet. They haven't gone through, the first fight that they are gonna have to have.
Yeah,
They haven't had someone spit in their food. They don't have anything to laugh about yet.
that's funny. Those two experiences, I literally experienced those at Kamloops Correctional when I was in the remand unit there. Charges were all stayed, by the way. I didn't do anything. That's a crazy girl who got me in trouble. But that's a fun story. I'll tell you about sometime. But
Dude, I didn't know that at all. Yeah, you should tell me that right now on live. No, you don't have to. You don't want
no, I don't care. I'll share it. I didn't do anything wrong.
to. How
So,
long? What? Like, tell me the whole experience. What the fuck? You went in there,
this
hey?
was, yeah, this was so 2005. So I wasn't working at the hotel. I was working at the hotel and the golf course for a while, so kind of doing double duty, and then I eventually started just working at the golf course. And this is when I was trying to get my teaching card and stuff, right? So it was, plus handicap, like meaning not like a two handicap, but like a plus 1 point whatever, so like better than scratch. And So whatever, this girl, I was living with this girl for a couple of months, and the whole point was she was like a single mom, and she was behind in her bills. So I was like, well, I need somewhere to stay for a couple of months because I had to move out of the place I was at, and I was planning on coming back to Vancouver. So I did that and basically got her cable and hydro and stuff sorted out, and stayed there for 2 months. And I'd met her from the hotel. She worked at the 7-Eleven right on the corner, and I'd buy smokes and Red Bulls and whatever. And so we developed sort of a casual romantic relationship. But like I had told her, like, I'm leaving in 2 months, and of course she accepted that, and then went totally crazy when I went to leave. And then what had happened was the hotel I used to work at got robbed, and she basically went to the police and said that she thought that I might have done it. And so they went and scooped me up for that. And luckily, I got a really good legal aid lawyer because I had no money at the time. And
Wait. Before you move on from that, so
they
tell
came
me
and
about
arrested me.
that. Yeah, and then so tell me about that. Now you're in a waiting room. Like, how long is that? How long were you in there
Okay, so
for?
yeah, I'm basically in my bedroom. There's a knock at the door. I'm asleep. I wake up and there's RCMP there. And I'm just like, what the fuck? So, they tell me, I was pretty calm because they told me what it was about, and I was pretty naive to like that like innocent people ever get charged or convicted of anything. I just thought, the truth will prevail kind of thing. So I wasn't really stressed, but I was fucking pissed off and confused. Because I'm having to put together all of this. So anyway, I end up in city cells, which is like where you get if you're drunk or whatever, you stay in like a jail, right? Not a correctional facility, right? So, so I'm there for like 3 days, and
As in, you're in where the junk tank is, or you aren't in where that
no, I
is?
was in like my own little
Correctional
cell.
facility. Yeah.
No, I was in jail, like
Oh, you're
where.
in jail.
So for 3 days before, like you have to, because you've been charged, right? So someone's got to charge you with a crime, and then of course these RCMP, they're trying to, before they can send me somewhere, like the case has to develop, right? So um I was there for 3 days, and they feed you really good. There was like a little Greasy Spoon diner across the street, and like you're getting like full hash brown, sausage, bacon, eggs, breakfast, lunch, dinner, like you're eating good. And but they would wake me up at like 3, 4 in the morning to interrogate me. to try and get me to quote unquote confess, which I mean, I'm like, how am I supposed to confess to something I didn't do? So basically, what happened was they showed her some evidence after I guess she brought my name up, and there was a ski mask, and this is what they arrested me on. There was a ski mask, and it was a Florida State Seminoles baseball cap, like style baseball cap. And she's like, "Oh, I can't find my kid's ski mask. That looks like it. So he must have used that, like as if." And she's like, "Oh, and I think he's had a hat like that." So they found this hat at the scene, and I guess this ski mask. Well, the ski mask that she had was for her kid who went out as a ninja for Halloween, which, by the way, I had to take him out trick-or-treating because she was too lazy to get up, her own kid. So he went as a ninja, and it had like the 2 eye holes in the mouth hole, right? That was his style. And the one that they found at the scene was just the one that had that vertical slit that where there's a hole for both your eyes, no mouth hole. So 2 totally different fucking masks, okay? And the hat, Florida State Seminoles at that time was #1 national college football team in the fucking nation. So like, I'm sure they sold a few hats, you know what I'm saying? Like, so, and not to mention, it was all like grease stained, like, you know, hats get all sweat stained and they turn brown in the brim. And I'm like, just take my DNA, man. You clearly can get DNA off of that. And they wouldn't do that. And they're, you know, so they're trying to interrogate me, and I just remain silent. Like, other than saying,
Well, for real, tell me about the interrogation process, though. Like, they're waking you up at 3 a.m, sitting you at a table with a light in your eyes. There's 1 or 2 of them. Like,
there
how
was
long?
one uniformed RCMP officer who was probably not trained very well in interrogation, and they just try to employ like a bunch of emotional techniques, like, what would your mother think? I know
But
you're
how long? How long would the questioning period go on for,
2 hours,
bro?
and I mean, I don't know.
Oh, I would have went crazy, bro. Being accused
Well, I
of
just
something I
sat
didn't
there. I'm
do.
like, I'll answer your questions if I can have a smoke. And like, oh, there's no smoke in here. I'm like, all right, well then I'll just sit here. And I just sat there with my hand on my head, just staring at them. And they would ask questions, and I would just stare at them. And like, I was literally probably silent for, 20 or 30 minutes at a time without saying a fucking word. So like, they were getting nowhere, right? Like, and all I said was, like, listen, from what you're showing me here, there's a very simple way. If you're motivated towards finding the truth, there's a very simple way to exclude me here, because I didn't have anything to do with this. So, and really, literally the only facts were her saying that she thought that was my stuff and that I used to work at the hotel. Right now, at that time, right, I'm 49, so do the math, whatever I was in 2005.
29.
What's that?
29.
It's simple math, yeah. But so anyways, so at that time, fuck, I kind of lost my train of thought.
Well, what happened
It
after
was
that? Yeah.
different because I get all the evidence that they have, right? So I had a very good legal aid lawyer. He actually, my case was his last case as a legal aid lawyer in Vernon. So this is in the Okanagan, Vernon, British Columbia.
So he's like an OG.
Oh yeah, he became the lead prosecutor for Surrey. He was this super cool Indo-Canadian dude, like short hair guy, like, and great English and very articulate. And they literally said to him at one point, if he didn't do it, who did? And they're like, he just laughed at them. He's like, you want me to do your job for you? So anyways, I get to see all their evidence, which was nothing, right? Like it was nothing. So, the description that the security person that was working there said that the person was approximately 6 feet tall. I'm 5'9", and a slim build with like, unless I lost 40 pounds and then gained 40 pounds in like a 2-day period, like the physical description didn't even come close to matching me. So they were just super lazy, obviously had no leads to go on, and then just this toxic bitch that was mad that I was leaving decided to just jam me up. I couldn't even go back to retrieve my shit from her house like for weeks because she was, I'm in fear for whatever. Like I had never done anything to her, never. I literally saved her from her hydro getting shut off, helped better the quality of life of her kid for the 2 months while I was there because she was an irresponsible mother, which I didn't really realize till I moved in there. You know, and she was just mad because I told her I was leaving in 2 months, and she thought she could change that somehow, and then when she couldn't, she lost her mind. So she decided to jam me up. So I couldn't even go back there without like a police entourage. Like I had to communicate through them, and she decided when I could come, and not to. I didn't even have access to all my stuff because she took some of it. Like, so, you know. So I lost a bunch of crap that way too. Like she just basically stole from me, but I don't have an inventory list of it. I can't prove it. So like, you know. So that was pretty brutal. And then eventually I get, you know, sheriff after 3 days of me not saying anything.
If you would have just admitted you were guilty in those 3 days, you would have been locked up, eh?
100%.
Dude, how gnarly is that? Like, if you were just broke under that pressure.
Right. And I never understood until like I'd seen, like, say for example, remember the Central Park 5?
No, I don't know. That is a movie.
Five
Show.
black youth that got charged with
Oh,
rape,
okay.
beating the crap out of a lady in New York, and they were interrogated for so long that they admitted to it. But then DNA evidence years later cleared them.
Dude.
So, like, just the ability for people to be broken down through interrogation tactics and techniques and admit to something they didn't do is a real possibility, which I was totally ignorant to at the time, thankfully. But that would have increased my anxiety and paranoia to a point there were, you know, maybe I could have broken, but thankfully I'm pretty strong-willed, in case you haven't noticed. So I didn't break, I didn't crack.
Well, especially when you haven't done it, it would take a lot.
Well, you would think, but those 5 people within a matter
that's
of,
the thing. That's the thing.
but they
man.
kept them up like for like 24 hours.
Yours
So
sounds pretty extreme, even yours, bro. Like 3 in the morning for a few
they
hours.
do that on purpose. They're monitoring when you're asleep, how long you're asleep for. You know, they're paying attention, and they're trying to pick you at your most vulnerable point. That's the point of waking you up at 3, 4 in the morning, right? So they can manipulate you as easily as possible. So, you know, and I mean, I guess, you know, it comes from a good place, right? Their goal is to try to get the truth out of you, what they think is the truth, whether they're lazy in that, you know, regard or not. But
Bro,
nonetheless,
if you caught me at fucking 3 in the morning, I might say I did it just to go back to sleep. Like,
well,
fuck
yeah,
me.
who knows, right? Everyone's different. I certainly wasn't about
I
to admit-
obviously wouldn't do that, but like I'd want to.
right.
Like,
You know,
fuck.
You know, and not to mention, I was a pretty heavy smoker at the time, so it sucked. You know, like just nothing to do, right? So I was just like exercising in the fucking cell, like stereotypical, you know, thing that you do. And
That's
to
a
just do
fucked up
something.
story, bro. It's actually
and
fucked.
it gets worse because so eventually after 3 days of this, I get transferred. So I'm in a sheriff's vehicle, shackled, like foot shackled, where you got, you know, and your hands, you know, where you can do like baby steps, in the fucking jumpsuit and all that shit. Like, it's fucking insane, dude. I've never experienced anything like it. You know, obviously I've been in loss prevention and security for 15 years, which you can't do with a criminal record of any kind. So, you know, obviously, like, the charges were stayed. They were, you know, everything worked out in the end. But so I'm on this drive from Vernon to Kamloops, which is a couple hours, in the back of this sheriff's vehicle, which is not comfortable, with a bunch of other fucking people who you don't know what they did. And then, you know, so you get there, and then you have this thing called a surety, which is, it's bail in Canada. They call it a surety. So how do you call, right? So you get a phone call, right? Well, when do you get that? So you got to get processed, put all your fucking shit in. They give you your prison clothes and stuff. And then you go into the remand unit, right? So that's the temporary unit. Like, you haven't been convicted yet, so you're not sentenced. So you're in this limbo period. That's called the remand unit. So you have all sorts of people. I literally had Serial across from a serial killer. A little nerdy looking dude that had killed. He's like, well, what are you in here for? You know, and you learn, and he was in there for murdering 2 people. He's like, that they know of. I'm like, holy fuck. Right? So when I first was in there, I didn't even get out of my cell. And the guard came, and she's like, you know, you don't have to stay in here all the time. And I'm in there, and this is the other fucked up thing. You're in there in a bunk bed situation. And the first guy that I was in there with got arrested for smoking crack before he was meeting some girl for a date. So he's in there. I'm in with him talking to this rando for a few hours. He gets transferred out. And then some other dude comes in, and it's wintertime, keep in mind. So this second guy that came in was this dirty drug addict. So now I got to share a cell with him. And he literally turned himself in because he knew he had outstanding warrants, but it's wintertime. So in the summers, they just avoid the warrants and they go run amok and do whatever they want. And then when it becomes hard to live outside, they turn themselves in so that they have housing and free meals and shit. So, like, that's literally what he did. So I had to bunk with that guy for a few days. And so in this remand unit, like, you're supposed to get a phone call because I need to set up bail, right? I want to get out of here. Well, I was such an asshole to those RCMP when they were interrogating me. Like, I was, after like the third or fourth time and hours of this, I was very, very rude to them. Like, you know, I was very, very angry. And, so I think they really didn't like that. And, you know, like, they have power over you. They talk to each other. And for some reason, I didn't get my calling card for like 3 days. I'm supposed to get it the first day. It didn't work for like another 8 days. So I was in this remand unit for almost 2 weeks before I could even post bail. Like, I should have been in and out in like
Bro,
a couple
what
hours.
the fuck, man?
So my
This
brother,
is actually the most fucked up shit I've ever heard.
that's crazy, right? So my brother, who was in Kelowna, who was where I was moving to after those 2 months, I was basically moving there to look after. He was dating a girl and she had 3 kids, so I became like a live-in nanny to her 3-year-old, her 6-year-old, and 12-year-old. And by the way, they all got better behaved while I was their live-in nanny. Use your words. And I was a very good male nanny. I did all the cooking. They'd come home for dinner, like the adults. I'd have dinner ready for them, took care of their kids. It was awesome. The kids all had their own time too, because like the 12-year-old would do his own thing, walk to school. The 5-year-old, I would walk him to school with the 3-year-old on my shoulders. The school was right across the street from our house, so it was like a 100-yard walk. And so every kid got their own individual attention. 12-year-old and I would go golfing together. He was pretty good, so we'd do our thing. And then the 5-6-year-old would have his own time, and then he would go off to school, and it was just me and the 3-year-old. So then he would have his own time. So it was really awesome, super rewarding for me. I'd have been a great dad. But anyways, before I could get a surety, Dave had to put up his Harley and whatever, so goods that were worth about $10,000. And then after I finally got released, I had to go under probation for a while. Now I'm going to circle back to my time back in the correctional facility, because when you said spit in your food and get into a fight, so when you're there, I mean, first of all, this place was like, they had board games, there was a ping pong table, there was a room that had 2 large screen TVs with, at that time, I think it was like Xbox and Sega Genesis, maybe, or maybe not. It was Xbox and some other, and PlayStation. And a wide catalog of games. You could just sit in there and play video games. Like, there was a weight room. There was, you could play handball. You had full cable. There was no smoking, which was good because I quit smoking during that time. But you had full cable. I was watching the Golf Network and shit. Like, it was not difficult as far as that went. But socially navigating the different people that were there, because there were people in that remand unit that had been there in that remand unit for like years. And so they ran the remand unit. So if there was 50 guys and there was 52 meals, they did the extra chores. They got the extra meals. So getting back to this currency, I had a guy try to trade me a loaf of bread for like Salisbury steak one day. He wanted that meal. And the guy beside me is like, don't do it. And I said, okay. And then another kid ended up accepting the trade. So this loaf of bread, the first 2 slices on each end were fine, and the rest of it was all fucking moldy. So he traded this guy this false fucking loaf of bread for a fucking hot meal and totally fucked the guy over. So there was that currency in that black market currency going on in this place as well. Poker games, you name it. I just was learning how to play poker at that time, so I didn't really participate in that. But there was this guy that was in there, and I think he was in there for some child stuff or something, right? Wasn't really sure because you know what everyone's in there for. So the guys you don't know what they're in there for are the ones that are trying to keep it secret. And normally it's something like that, like some PDF files, right? JPEG, PDF, you know what I'm saying. So this guy, like no one wanted to be around him. And he was talking to this one guy that kind of, the guy that warned me about the loaf of bread thing. And he kind of helped me navigate the space and stuff. Like, again, oh yeah, and I'll circle back to my first day when I finally came out. I didn't even know where to get the meals from. So I walked up and I'm looking around at these tables. And, you know, it's clear that I don't belong here. Like, you know, like you can tell the fish, right, in the room. And they all can, right? And so I go up to these guys who are in this remand unit for like 2 years. Are you still there, buddy?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. So I go up to this table and I look at their meals and they're like, don't even fucking look at this fucking table. I'm like, well, I don't know where the fuck am I supposed to get a meal from? Right fucking behind you. And they have those hot, like, warming fridges type things or on wheels, you know, and that's where all your food comes out of. So anyway, so that was like, you know, the one guy's like barely even worth getting out of bed, huh? Because like I had to deal with that on like day one essentially. So that was a little intimidating, but I stood up for myself. So we're in gym because they were doing some work on our cell area, so we had to get everyone out of there. And we were in this gym area where there was like weights and stuff, and then like an open gymnasium, like with a hardwood floor where you could play basketball or handball or soccer or whatever. And we had access to all that stuff. And this guy, this you know, P guy, he was talking to a guy beside me, and what ended up happening, he ended up taking one of these extra meals. He asked the guard for it, and the guard gave it to him. Now, this is where the guard, I think, was just bored and wanted to see some action, because he knows exactly those extra meals are for a certain group in that remand unit. You can't just take that. They earn that. They get the extra chores. They decide who gets any extra meals. So this guy got that extra meal, and he's eating it. And I watch, and he's eating it like kind of beside me on this little 3 or 4 step little entrance to this gym. And one of the guys walks up, and he literally walks up to this guy and starts going and horks a big loogie and spits right on his Salisbury steak. Because, you know, like you don't get our extra meals. So, you know, and I had to tell the guy, dude, get the fuck away from me. Like, I don't want to be associated with you at all. These guys are clearly hating on you. Get the fuck away from me. You're not going to find any friends here. And so they started fucking around and throwing this like kickball, you know, those red and blue style balls. And they were throwing this around, and they were like pretending to overthrow it and miss it. Like the guy who was catching it would miss it on purpose, trying to hit this guy. Well, one time they almost hit me, and I had to catch it. So I stood up and I fucking hurled it back at like this 6'7" native dude. And we almost came to blows. Like, but that was okay, you have to fight and stick up for yourself and show you're not a pussy, or you're going to be dealing with this for however long you're in there. You're just going to get bullied. So I had to go through that whole moment and not know because he was part of that crew. So what if it all goes sideways and 9 guys decide to jump me while there's 1 prison guard here? You know? So like, it was a super fucked up experience. And eventually, whatever, I made a surety, finally got out of there after about 2 weeks.
But you actually had to pay. You actually had to pay to get out.
My brother had to put up stuff as collateral.
Oh, because once. But so how long? If you didn't do that, how long would you have had to stay in there for?
I wouldn't have got out. I would have had to stay there until there was a resolution to the court case. And that would have turned out, that would have been probably over a year.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, over a year, because
what
after
the
that,
fuck, dude?
They kept. So basically, to prove that a crime has been committed, like the girl that got robbed, and again, I have access to all the evidence, right? So I obviously went through all of this with my lawyer. And the girl that got robbed, she worked at the beer and wine store. And guess what had happened was when the beer and wine store had closed down, she has to walk her float with all the cash and receipts and whatever in it to the front desk through the hotel. Like, obviously you don't do it outside, but there was no protocol in place. But I would always walk with them when I was security there. because they're walking through the hotel. I mean, there's a courtyard, there's a restaurant there. Like there's, yeah, it closes at 11 to like people that aren't in the hotel and don't have a card, but like, you can. There's still who knows who's staying in your hotel. They could see you at the float and decide to do something. So I would always, it wasn't a protocol. It was one that I put in place, but it wasn't formally written into policy or anything. But I would always make sure that my guys, because I ran the security after a little while there, would make sure you walk with them from the point they leave the beer and wine store all the way through the hotel to the front desk, make sure they get there safely, right? Well, I guess that didn't happen when I was stopped working security there, and someone literally en route grabbed the float from her in a ski mask and stuff and then ran out of the hotel. So they had to get her to prove that there was a crime you have to prove there was a crime committed. So you need the victim of the crime, which is obviously the hotel and the person that was holding the float. So they couldn't find her. So she had some domestic issues at home. I don't know where she went. I still don't know. I don't know if something bad happened to her, but they never found her. But because they kept trying to find her, they kept delaying my court proceedings, like the right to a speedy trial. Fuck that. They kept pushing it back and the judge kept granting them. So during that whole process, because I was out, I had to go check in with a probation officer every 2 weeks, which started in Kelowna. And then when I moved back to Vancouver and I got a job in loss prevention while on probation, I ran into issues with that too. I had to like write a letter saying, they basically wanted me to write a letter saying that I did this, but that how I wouldn't be a danger or whatever. I'm like, well, I can't write that. So I couldn't even continue working in loss prevention until that was settled. I had to quit my job. Again, none of this is my fault. So like, this is quite a lot to go through.
I would fucking say at the very least, yeah.
So I'm doing this, probation for like however long until finally they dropped the charges. And, it was like, I think it was like 9 or 10 months of probation, checking in every 2 weeks. And I had curfew. Like I couldn't be out after a certain time.
And there was nothing, you didn't get anything back from this, right? You just got fucked for that 10 months.
Yeah.
Dude, what the fucking fuck?
Yeah. So, that was
I can't believe I would literally go around telling that story. I would literally I don't even know. That would redefine my whole world if that happened to me.
Well, we can clip this story and we'll put it in, my black pill moment, of my Law and Order experience. And we can clip the end of it and put a different title on.
Yeah, that's actually a crazy ass story, man. What the fuck?
So, yeah,
Chris, I am gonna go and work a little bit here and get my day started. I always try to multitask when I have these lives going, but I fail so badly.
Yeah,
so I feel like this is like a really good first episode and shit, though. So
phenomenal! Yeah, phenomenal first episode. So cool, bud. That was awesome. How long
I
were we
agree.
on for? Does it say?
I said I agree. That was awesome.
No, I know, but how long were we on here for? Do you know? Does it say?
No, I don't. No idea.
All right. Well,
I'll know when it's done because it'll show me how long it is. But
perfect.
yeah, man, keep in touch here.
Give me a text when you know how long it was, and go crush the day, bud.
You too, man. Much love.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. Take care.
Gang, gang.